So I'm just letting you know, things are working out.
Hello, TCH Live, and welcome to Dallas, Texas, right here at Texas Card House, Dallas, for this final table of the even bigger one, the $250,000 guarantee from right here in TCH Dallas. This was a $300 event, and I'll show you some payouts here. So there's what we ended up with today: $344,000 in the prize pool. 1,464 entries, a $300 buy-in. This is what we're playing for today here at this final table. I am RJ Dupree. This is TCH Live. Joining me today, commentator Danny Marks.
Hey guys, it's great to be here. Amazing top prize of $57,000 up top for the small buy-in of $300. We got our guest commentator Bluey in the booth with us as well.
Good to see Bluey in the booth.
Absolutely, I'm excited to see some high-level final table poker here.
Absolutely, we were already underway.
So Nick got me a couple times.
Nick has picked up queens in the small blind for our very first hand, and we are underway.
Yeah, it's always nice to get the final table jitters out of the way by being dealt a premium right away. Most people like to play a little tight that first orbit, get a feel for the table, but queens will definitely make your life easy.
And here's a good look at the seats and the names that we have going today. Grace is in the 1 seat. Nick will be in the 2, Ronnie in the 3, and our 4th seat is Tamper Wheeler. He has a boatload of chips at more than 10 million. The 5 seat, Andrew. 6 seat, Gregory. Travis in the 7, Jack in the 8, and Mike Champion in the 9 seat.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Tamper handles the chip lead here. With such a top-heavy payout structure, he is incentivized to try and really be aggressive at the table. So we'll see if he can kind of force his way through this and try to get himself some extra chips here.
And Grace here in the cutoff with pocket 9s, trying to decide how she wants to handle this in hand number 2 of our final table.
Yeah, and the nice thing is the blinds are still pretty low, so most players have at least 20 big blinds, so no one's really in the danger zone quite yet, other than maybe 1 or 2 players. So everyone's going to try to focus on laddering up a few pay jumps. The top few prizes are definitely where the majority of the money is at. So it's going to be nice to see these players maneuver.
The flop of ace 3-4 and rainbow. Nobody really connecting here. Grace has the best equity with her pocket 9s.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to go for a small 3-bet here, 3-way. She's definitely going to have most of the aces here. It's a little bit dicey on the triple wheel board, but I don't mind a c-bet here as well. And it's probably going to work taking it down.
Well, Travis is actually led out into her, and Travis will represent that ace and take it down.
Oh, that was Travis leading out. Interesting. Nice play, Travis. Takes it down. So yeah, looking over here at the chip stacks, almost everybody is pretty healthy. Andrew off the short stack still has over 15 bigs. So even Andrew doesn't have to get too impatient. He actually has a really good stack to 3-bet jam and just kind of fold his way and let the game come to him a little bit.
Yeah, not a ton of danger out there just yet. 2 players around $2 million, or $2 million in chips, and that's still plenty going into this final table.
Absolutely, and just something to keep in mind coming into this final table. Oh, I'm gonna put that on hold. We got the big boys here, the aces, the dream.
Mike's finding rockets right out of the gate.
Mike is one of the few players at this table that I am familiar with, a local tournament player here in Dallas. Goes for the 2X open, pretty standard in the low jack.
Yeah, I know I've dealt to seats 1, 2, and 3 just around here locally. And then I like you, do not recognize some of our friends there across the top.
Yeah, and Nate is getting a good price here in the small blind with the small pocket pair and being very deep. He definitely has the odds to set mine.
And a 4 on the flop.
Yeah, this is going to get pretty costly here for Mike. I wouldn't expect too many of my opponents to have 7s here. Definitely the blind defenses are going to have more 7s, so I really like that check back here by Mike. He doesn't have anything to protect against, so he can get extra money from bluffs on later streets, but it just so happens that Nate is very strong here.
425 is about.
And actually, Andrew has a flush draw himself along with a gut shot now. So all 3 of these players are very strong. This could get dirty.
So now Andrew has bet 425,000 after Nate has checked bottom boat twice.
Yeah, I actually really like the way Mike is playing this. You're keeping your opponent's range wide here to get maximum value from their entire range. But if you start raising, you're going to funnel their range to very tight hands where now you're actually losing quite a bit.
10 of spades. Andrew has hit a flush on this river. Yeah. Nate's bottom boat going to be in a happy, happy spot.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see Nate not raise their multi-way on the turn, but he just wants to get the full trap, and it's probably going to work here. This might actually give Mike a chance to get away since Andrew made the flush.
So Nate will lead out this time, 900,000.
Yeah, really tough spot for Andrew being the small stack here, making the flush multi-way. Being led into, Nate is representing a lot of flushes here. Let's see if he can make a very tight laydown, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a call either. Very interesting hand right off the bat here.
Andrew calls the 900,000. So this will put Mike in a...
Yeah, good fold there by Mike. He's not really beating anything after that. Both players are representing very strong hands on this run out.
I see you flopping the cents. Didn't leave you overnight.
No.
And very well played there by Mike to get away losing the minimum with aces against the flop set. He's definitely going to be dangerous here at this final table.
And now, I recognize Mr. Nate right there. He's also a local player as well.
Absolutely. And now Andrew's down to just over 2 big, so he's going to be all in here very shortly. Very tough spot. Well played by everybody.
There's Travis under the gun, gets rid of his queen 8. Jack finds an ace queen.
Yeah, the players with the in-between stacks are very incentivized to play tight here. In these large field multi-table tournaments, it's really important to understand the risk premium. There's 2 key points in the tournaments, the first being the money bubble and the second being the final table bubble, where you need to play very, very tight as you make money by folding and moving up the ladder. And Andrew waking up here with aces off of his 2 big blinds. Let's see if he can quadruple up here.
290's the best.
So Andrew is in there. He's all in for 290,000. So about 2.5 blinds, but he's got 3 callers. Or it looks like 2 callers. So we will go to a flop.
Check. Check, check.
This flop staying small here. Not helping anyone.
Hold. Take that back. Let's see the hands, please.
Jack would be nice.
So now Andrew gets to table his aces and see that he... There we go. Now he's home free officially.
And just like that, he's back up to almost 10 bigs. Never give up in a tournament. And it looks like we have quite a few people in the chat here joining us tonight. We appreciate you all. Where are y'all watching from? Thanks for joining us here in Dallas.
Hello, chat. Finally get to pull you guys up. Let's see who we got. Dory, Coyle. Hey, Danny. Hey, RJ.
What's up, Dory? It's great to see you as always.
Back, it's 120.
Dory's another local tournament crusher here, her and her husband. They travel a lot of the tournaments in the local area, and I get to see them quite often. Dory's been doing very well lately.
So we've seen 5 hands. We've had aces out twice and queens out once, so the cards are getting fired up for sure. Rena says hit that like button. I agree. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Hit subscribe. You don't want to miss out on anything TCH Live is doing for you. We're going to start a new stream coming up soon here at the Rio Grande Valley. And so TCH is growing, and so is TCH Live. So you want to be sure. Do not miss anything.
What's up, Kara? Kara and her husband in the box here are 2 of the best dealers around. They have a new kiddo as well, and wishing the best to them. What's up, Eric?
Watching from Grapevine, go Grace. So we've got some fans for everyone coming in the chat already. Eric Van Loozen joining us in the chat. What's going good? Danny and our Jizzle.
Heads up.
Good to see Eric in the chat.
Yeah, we got Wichita Falls. Thanks, David, for joining us.
Pocket
Tracy from
Nine's
Addison.
going to flop a set here for Jack.
400,000 is the bet.
Wow, this is going to be a bloody final table. I can already
Jack
tell.
10, middle pair and a gutter ball with backdoor clubs. This could turn into something.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of, there's a club on the turn.
400,000.
And let's see, I've seen Ron play a few times. He will definitely get after it. He likes to mix it up, and hands like this will be.
I think this is a really good hand to call with, though. You have so much equity, and you could already be good at showdown. And you don't want to get blown off your equity by reopening the action. So you want to see a river card with a hand that strong. I actually really like the way he played it.
And it seemed like he knew he could be in a dangerous spot there. He didn't want to overplay it.
Absolutely.
So Jack picks up a nice one there, moving him up to 8.56 million in his chip stack. Andrew, of course, he was down to 2.5 blinds, but he's back up above 1 million, so he's got a little bit of breathing room, at least for this lap of the button.
Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about tournaments with the antes and the increasing blinds is it's never over until it's over. There's a reason why the saying chip in a chair is there. Somebody came back and won a World Series of Poker bracelet with just a single ante-chip. So I'd love to see Nate come back here after going down to 2 bigs.
And the biggest cash I've ever had, it's not that huge or anything, but it was little over 12,000. 25 players, I think, cashed in that thing that day. And when the bubble broke, I had two blinds.
Wow.
I just barely snuck into the bubble. And then by the time we got to the final table, I had a chip lead.
Amazing.
So
yeah.
that was a pretty sweet run.
That's such a great feeling.
Check.
We got a monotone flop here with a raise and a call pre-flop. Generally, when you're going to c-bet a board like this, you want to go very small as your opponent is not going to have too many hands to continue with. Does go a bit on the larger size. Feels like he wants to protect a little bit with his top pair on the flush card. But one of the issues is that your opponents are going to continue anyway with a lot of their high diamonds. So creating pot control right off the start, maybe even starting with a check to allow your opponent to bluff, is also not a bad strategy. So you could play it any way.
Especially with that amount of chips. He went with the little pressure there and went on the bigger side.
Yeah, and actually that's probably a bigger factor. The fact that he has so many chips in the chip lead, he wants to really pound and put in a lot of bets against these players, and he'll probably be able to chip up doing that.
Calls 120.
Raise.
Greg's going to find himself with pocket 7s on the button. He'll raise it up
325 is about
to 325. And you see those red chips there are 100,000 each. And the blue chip there is a 25,000 chip. Now ace king in the small blind for Travis, so we could see some action here.
Yeah, and Greg and Travis are just around 30 big blinds each, so this could definitely get interesting here with a couple of premiums.
Travis, by the way, a fellow Oklahomie, one of my very favorite people I grew up in the poker world with, and he's been gone a little while. He moved out to the West Coast on us, and good to see him back splashing around here and making a nice run.
Well, this is a great way to reintroduce yourself to Dallas poker. Really tough spot now for Greg. You might not be getting enough of a price to set mine here, but you are in position, so I wouldn't mind calling here. Fold is just as good. Well played by both players. It's going to be hard to realize all your equity with a hand like 7, so generally when you're shorter, you want to just get it all in pre-flop so you can see all 5 cards. But being in position, button versus small blind, both ranges are going to be a little bit wider, so I don't mind calling either.
I had a conversation with someone the other day at the table when we had raised with 4s, and we river a set on a check board, right?
Yep.
So this hand just, and then they picked on me for raising with 4s, and I made a comment to him. I was like, I get to see all the cards. You know, when I'm in position with a small pair, I like to raise because then at least I can get through the turn probably.
Absolutely. Position is one of the most underrated, important things in poker.
Aces are out again.
And Andrew's getting slapped in the face with it. Poor guy. Easy jam here for 7s in the low jack off of under 10 bigs. I expect Travis here to just call with the aces, give other players a chance to enter the pot as well.
Looks like he's peeking behind as well there, trying to see what's going on behind, and he does just call. I think.
Ooh, and see, this is why you just call here. Jack might get a little out of line, think that Travis is weak by just flatting, and could try to isolate. Does make the discipline lay down. I really like it.
My
oh
goodness.
My gosh. Mike is just getting cooler left and right. Let's see how he handles this one. He might end up going for the raise. Be a disaster if he does.
And I think these two came up through the same flight, so these two have had history with each other as well.
Music to Travis's ears, and you really can't blame Mike here. That's a pretty standard isolation jam, and he just runs into it.
So we are going to go to a flop. All cards will be up. 3 players all in.
So we've had about 8 hands, and we've seen aces 3 times. So really rough night for some of these players.
So let's see here. Mike will be all in and at risk with 3.8 million. Andrew at risk with just over 1 million.
We good?
So Travis will still have a little bit behind here, and the flop comes king 4-4.
So both players are alive here. Mike needs a king, Andrew needs a 7. Ooh, and picks up a diamond draw now.
Diamond or king for Mike. 8 of spades.
You saw the 8s there folded as well.
Oh, yeah, the 8s were in the small blind there for Jack. What a hot mess.
Oh my goodness.
All right, good game, Andrew and Mike. Travis there with a huge pot, propelling him to, I believe, 2nd in chips.
No, Mike, you said chips.
So let's see. That's the chip counts that the player started with. Let's get to the payouts. There's our payouts. So we've lost a 9th place and an 8th place finisher. Those players going home with $5,000 and $6,250. So a disappointing end of their final table, but still, what a heck of a way to make a run through this, the even bigger one. It's 1464 entries.
Absolutely. That's a lot of players to get through. And keep in mind, it's just a $300 buy-in. So, 6 and 5,000 might seem like not a huge number, but for that buy-in, that is a really, really good result. Really well played by both players.
That's a lot of multiplication out of a $300 buy-in for sure.
Absolutely. And you can see how top-heavy the payout is, and that's pretty standard in tournaments today. So it's really important to finish in those top few spots to really make up for all the other tournaments.
Dallas.
That was the dumbest hand in the world, too. All because he.
I keep clicking on the wrong button.
like
There's our
that
payout. So
ball
we are
and
playing.
everything.
Those top three, those are
And then
some
we
big
looked at
juicy
each other
numbers,
and he
especially for a
smiled at me.
$300 buy-in. That's what Danny's
Absolutely.
referring to.
I like insta-called when you.
And while they're still stacking chips there in the 7th seat, we'll take a real quick moment here to talk about TCH Madness at Rio Grande Valley. They have a lot of cool promotions coming up here. Morning Mystery high hands, Late Night Madness high hands, Madness Omaha high hands, and Hold'em high hands. $100 every hours. Go check out Rio Grande Valley, Texas Card House for all the cool promotions they've got going on.
High hands galore. If you guys haven't ever been to a Texas card house, you're really missing out. I've been playing poker almost 20 years now. This is one of my favorite places to play in the entire world. Great people, great staff. Definitely got to come in and check out our high hand promotion.
So here we see some playable hands again. We'll go to the flop King Queen versus sixes.
All right, 500,000 is the bet.
Yep. I expect Nate to c-bet very large percentage, larger than normal because he is the chip leader. But when you flop top pair, it just makes it all the more easier.
Yep, running smooth, playing well. He's flopped a full house with pocket fours. Now he's landed top pair with his King Queen,
10, 10,
making it nice and easy for him.
10 white.
Yeah, I got you.
Now I am sad to see Mike leave already. Mike's one of our favorite characters to have around here at Texas Card House Dallas and Las Colinas, so it's fun to see him make an appearance on these things, but he ran his ace king into aces. 8th place finish, he'll take it, but it's definitely more fun with you around, Mike. We miss you already.
Yeah, I feel bad for Mike. He was able to escape those aces relatively unscathed, but then he just got another cooler setup right after that, running into aces with ace-king suited. But he can't be disappointed with a strong finish.
All right, Nate.
And yeah, as you look at these prize pools, you want to keep in mind this is a monthly tournament. Texas Card House Dallas has this tournament every month, usually the last weekend of the month. Month it'll move around a wiggle on you just a bit, as this month we moved it up a week for Easter, I think. And so next month, it'll be the final weekend of the month again. So if you want to play in this tournament, keep that in mind, put it in your calendar. $300 buy-in, you could play for this giant prize pool.
Yeah, if you guys want to turn $300 into a cool $60,000, that is a bankroll builder right there. Come join us. You'll have many more opportunities.
Got a good read.
Yeah, that was it.
The read on how bad our
It was
hands
all
are.
read. It was all a good read.
Are we good here?
We're good. Action's on red.
Greg here with a tough spot under the gun with Queen 10 suited. This is a spot where earlier in the tournament, he would probably open, or if it was a cash game, you can open. But I think it shows good discipline there. A lot of bad things can happen as a middling stack if you're playing out of position, and does decide to go with the discipline laydown.
Raise.
Raise an ounce and a full.
Snake going to raise it up with his ace and take it down there.
Maybe I did that wrong. We were just starting a sentence and I just got...
Yeah, I think if Greg was chip leader,
Raise your shoulders.
then he could probably open there.
Maybe that's what you're saying.
But I really like playing a little bit more discipline, trying to ladder up a few spots.
Nate, can I get 5 whites, please? Thank you, Nate. Folds, folds, folds. Raise. 250.
So Nick in the cutoff with King Queen suited. He'll bump it up.
55.
Man, we missed our chat there as we had the hand that was busting everybody.
Heads up.
Interesting flop here. Generally, the 6-9-10 is going to favor the in-position caller. So it's going to be better for Ron's range. So I do like not c-betting here from Nick. And I would like to see Ron show some aggression. He's probably not going to win at showdown with king high. He's got a lot of equity, and Nick showing weakness out of position. He does decide to bet and takes it down. Really well played, Ron.
So yeah, with the hand of chaos eliminating 2 players, we now have 7 players left, guaranteed about 7,200, I believe. So.
Yeah, and just a little tip for you guys, when you are trying to figure out whether or not to c-bet the flop as the pre-flop raiser, you really want to take the board texture into consideration. I think that shows a high level of play that he was able to stay disciplined and check on the 10-9-6, recognizing that his opponent's going to call with a lot of pocket pairs, middling, connected cards, other hands that hit that flop really well. So if he's going to c-bet there, he's going to have to barrel. He does have a gutter and 2 overcards, so it wouldn't be the worst, but I do prefer a check there. Nate getting right back into it on the button as the big chip leader, opening with ace-6. I expect him to open almost every hand here on the button with his stack.
Yeah, and we could see some decent action here between these two as long as the table setup stays like this. Nate's button versus Travis's big blind could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I expect Travis to defend wide here with most of his suited hands. Travis is definitely lucky to have position here on Nate the chip leader, so he can choose when he enters the pot and generally will have position most of the hands.
Thank you, sir.
Any of you in the chat, were you able to play this tournament? Are you one of those 1,400 entries? I know I'm 2 of them, so I love donating to the Dallas prize pool here. One of these days, maybe I'll make this final table, but definitely easier here in the booth.
Yeah, I thought about playing in this one myself, and then they asked me to come in and do the commentating on Monday, and I was like, okay, I'll just stay at work. So I worked over the weekend, and now here we are Monday, hanging out in here. I'm RJ Dupree. This is Danny Marks.
And with me is Bluey the puppy.
Bluey, yes. And I thought there was one of these down there, so I was nervous about that, but there's not one down there, so we're good.
Yeah, I figure this is a good test for her. Hopefully she doesn't eat all the equipment back here, but she's being a good girl. Learning some poker.
She is. I was nervous there for a second, but that's not down there, so we're good.
Tyler says he plays at home games when my buddies drink. I think that's a great way to do it. I've played in many home games over the years as well. First and foremost, poker is supposed to be fun. Play with what you can afford.
Yeah, I saw they had a big one down south.
Right.
But that's okay. We'll catch you next time.
Yeah, Texas poker in general has been blowing up. A lot of the locations are throwing big tournaments, multi-flight tournaments. You really love to see it. Poker is booming. Greg with a very light open here in the cutoff with the King 4 offsuit. A little risky off of his stack. Let's see what his plan is moving forward.
So Grace had limped there with the ace-3.
No, actually, Grace is in the big blind here.
Okay, pardon me.
And so off of the stack size, maybe 18 bigs against the cutoff open, you could decide to jam, but I think he's a little too deep to do that, so I probably wouldn't mind a defend here. Greg's been pretty tight as well. Greg flopping middle pair, going for the c-bet. His hand does need a little bit of protection, but I do expect this flop to hit the big blinds range a little bit stronger, so it's a little dicey. I wouldn't mind checking back for pot control and keeping my opponent's range wide. Does go for the c-bet and takes it down. Nice hand, Greg.
wrong ones.
Steven, thanks for joining us. How are you tonight?
Easy ATM.
Not playing favorites.
And we're seeing some really high-level play so far. There's a reason that these players made it through 1,400 entrants to get to the final table. They are playing for big money up tops, almost 60,000 for first here.
A Holabai 3 in the chat says, "Let's go, Jack."
275.
We like to see fans for all of our players in the chat, so we try to shout out when we can.
Absolutely. And speaking of Dory, I just got a message from her. Apparently, she got 10th place. So she was the final table bubble. And even more impressive than that, her husband, Jim, got 11th place.
Wow.
They have both played heads up in a tournament before, but getting through 1,400 entries together, if they could have both final table, that would have been an amazing story. Still is, honestly, getting both 10th and 11th. Great job, Dory. Great job, Jim. I'm sure we'll see you again next month.
Ace-Queen versus Ace-9. We've got some pots brewing here. Ace-9 is flop nut flush draw for Travis, where Nate has landed his queen with his Ace-Queen.
Yeah, this is an interesting board.
Blinds will be up next time. 250 we call to the turn.
Yeah, in position, I do like Travis just calling here. If you're out of position, you might have a little bit more incentive to try to take the lead. But he has more options now. Just calling in position, can try to take it away on later streets, or just make his hand.
So Nate will check here on the turn, and that opens the door for Travis to
625 is the
put a little sugar in here on the turn.
Yeah, and Travis can go either way. One of the issues is that he is up against the chip leader, so he has a huge risk premium here if he does end up losing a big pot. But he has such a strong hand that I actually really like the bet there.
check.
And now that he missed his spades, he actually doesn't have a great hand to bluff with, because you actually want your opponents to have spades in this situation. He does have the ace, though, which will block some of your opponent's straights. And Nate has shown weakness on the turn and river. Let's see if he decides to give up here or go for it.
975.
975.
Goes for a pretty small sizing. If you're going to bluff there, I think you need to go a little bit bigger. Your opponent's going to have a lot of Queen X, weak King X, and you really want to put the pressure on if you're going to bluff. But again, I think this is just a good hand to give up with here in position.
Yeah, bet about 975 into a pot of about nearly 2 million. So he went about 45–50% pot there.
Yeah, and you can see one of the issues there with playing a big pot against the chip leader when you're second. Now Nate really jumps into the lead and can really put a lot of pressure on both Jack and Travis. Both Jack and Travis off 7.3 million. They're going to be very incentivized to play tight now and not lose a big pot, as they can ladder up some really big spots here, some really big pay jumps. Mr. Adam says he's watching from home, another one of our great dealers. He deals a lot of these final tables as well. Thanks for joining us, Adam. Adam's been here since day one at TCH Dallas.
One of the OGs.
Absolutely.
What's up, Adam?
And that just goes to show you how great of a card room this is. The fact that we have so many employees that have been here since day one. It's like a family over here. I love playing here more than anywhere else.
So here we'll take a quick time out here while they're going to color up some chips. Gives us an opportunity to remind you guys about the Poker Atlas Tour coming to Houston, April 10th through the 22nd. They will have 16 events at the Poker Atlas Tour in Houston, Texas Card House, Houston. Over $1 million in guarantees. You guys don't want to miss this one out. Coming up very, very soon, April 10th through the 22nd.
And it looks like Miss Bluey is trying to eat my microphone a little bit, so sorry about that noise.
She's just joining in on the broadcast.
Absolutely.
And back to action. Cards are in the air. So Greg here under the gun with ace queen suited.
I just want the trophy.
And the Texas Card House even bigger tournament trophy has made an appearance to the table.
How did I see it?
So Greg raises it up with ace queen suited.
I screwed up.
Some raggy holdings around the table, and he will take that down.
Put the camera
Another
on.
premium here from Greg.
I was like,
Blinds are now up to 150K, so Nick being the short stack still has 11 bigs.
I look like a hero.
Definitely in the danger zone, but has can definitely wait for some spots to come to him as well.
On an unrelated note, I'll be crying again tonight.
Now, when you're sitting there with 11 bigs, what are you thinking holdings-wise is an automatic mover? Like king jack better, face, what do you think?
So that's actually a really great question, and a lot of it is going to depend on what position you're in. The later the position, the less opponents you're going to have to get through. And also, there's a lot of incentive here that he can still ladder up. So he doesn't necessarily, if this was earlier in the tournament, for example, you're going to want to just open jam with the 11 bigs. But let's say that he opens to 2 big blinds and 2 players go all in behind him. Now he has the option to fold, even getting a great price because he can make real money on his ladder up. So it just is going to depend on what position you are dealt in.
And here in this hand, Grace has queens in the cutoff. She's raised it up and gets a call from king, queen of Nate. Jack 3, 5, 2 diamonds. Pretty friendly flop here for Grace.
Yeah, let's see what size Grace goes with here on whether or not Nate can continue. Grace is very short, though. Just decides to get it all in now. I think Nate is going to have to fold against this sizing.
So she'll just rip it there on the jack high flop, and the 1.7 million stack will grow. So she'll pick up about 500,000 there.
Yeah, I think Grace was a little worried. Her hand does need a little bit of protection, but I also like getting value here. So I would try to make it a 2-street game and bet small on the flop to set up a turn jam. But understandable, just trying to take it down as well, and kind of clears herself away from Nick being the smallest.
That's kind of that funky spot where your stack doesn't totally match the perfect value out of your hand, and a rip's not the worst thing in the world.
Absolutely. And, you know, maybe your opponent will think you've got a hand like ace king or something like that and call you light with any pair. So I can understand a jam there as well.
raise 350.
Jack gonna try to bump it up here with his ace-8 offsuit. Grace lets go of the deuces.
I haven't.
Generally at the final table, you're going to see pretty tight play. It's usually going to be big blind defending against an open, heads up most of the way. So we're going to see a lot of strong hands against a big blind defending range.
Ace, jack, deuce. Everybody could have hit something here. Grace had deuces.
Yeah, off of Grace's stack size, didn't really get odds to set mine, so she either has to kind of get it all in pre-flop or just fold. I do prefer a fold here with deuces. Just unlucky. That's why it's important not to be results-oriented, and you just want to try to make the best play you can every time the action's on you.
Absolutely. You know, it kind of stings when you throw those in the muck correctly, and then that deuce comes right on out. But
absolutely. We've all felt that, but I think that's kind of what sets apart the best players, are the ones that can compartmentalize and really just focus on making good plays and not worrying about the results. You know, we've all played poker long enough where, you feel the pain from time to time, but being able to bounce back is really important.
yeah, believe it or not, the best players in the world, when that happens to them, they're like, whatever. If they even see it at all, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody has struggled with it from time to time, so, that's one of the beautiful things about poker. It's a corollary to life. Not everything is always going to go as planned, but how you get back up is what will set you apart.
So nice pot there for Jack. A little bit of meat on that bone as he's able to just kind of pick up some value on all streets. And
absolutely. I like the small sizing, was able to get a call down from second pair.
Yeah, I know we've mentioned it, but another shout out to Johnny. Johnny, the dealer in the box.
Yeah, Johnny is one of the best dealers ever. He is incredibly quick and accurate.
Ever?
Absolutely. And, you know, I don't say that lightly. I've been playing poker for 20 years. I've seen a lot of dealers, and they really don't get much better than him.
Johnny is fantastic.
Yeah, he keeps the game moving. He knows the rules. He's been a floor. Kara is also quite the dealer. So great to have them joining us here tonight. Ron here with another premium. We've had a lot of premiums so far. A lot of ace-king, ace-queen suiteds. Obviously the aces, which have slowed down, thankfully.
Johnny bringing the fire so far.
Come up here tomorrow to pay the 130 daily tomorrow? No, not at all.
It's 150, bro.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, they had the 175 where
William says Spencer is better. Johnny will appreciate the smack talk. He's a fun dude to have around as well.
Bring that trophy with you and just
Absolutely.
you got a brand new child. You can't you had to get permission to do this, and it worked out for you. And it worked out for you.
So we're kind of at that level where it's going to be tough to get him to move around a little bit. They're still going to battle it out here, but they're all eyeballing that move up right now.
Yeah, with the double bust out early, the average stack here is still pretty deep, so players are going to be very careful with how they maneuver. You really want to have a plan when you put chips into the pot. You can see that 9-8 suited folded in late position. That's one of those hands that plays better a little bit deeper, and so I actually really like that fold. It's going to be the battle of the blinds here. Very interesting flop here. Travis with the gut shot and the backdoor flush draw, and Jack with top pair. Now the fact that it's blind versus blind, top pair, 7 kicker is actually pretty valuable here. Does decide to go for a little bit of value. You also don't have much to protect against, so I wouldn't mind checking for deception and pot control here to try to keep your opponent wide.
Check.
So the 10 of diamonds on the turn brings out a quick check.
Yeah, that's going to slow things down. I wouldn't mind checking again, trying to get your opponent to bluff. But also, I would expect him to have a lot of like King X type hands or maybe some mid pocket pairs. So going for value is not a bad idea either.
And it will induce a bet out of Travis and a quick call from Jack and his ace.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe king 10 or so.
Well played, Jack. So you can see the voluntary put money into pot percentage. As you would expect, the big stack Nate here is playing almost half of his hands. That's generally what a good chip leader is going to do, put a lot of pressure on the table, a lot of opens. Also, he's had quite a few good hands, so definitely makes it easier.
There's one that's not playable. He'll throw 7 deuce into the muck.
Guess he's got to take one off. VXPTC asks, what was the guaranteed prize pool when it started? This is a $250,000 guaranteed, and we, as usual, we blew past it. What did we end up getting in the prize pool? Was it close to 350,000?
I believe so. They sent me that message. We could do the math at 1,464 entries.
Mitchell here entering the chat as well, another great local player. He was actually at my table when I did play my flight.
I do know that it
Was hoping to see him run deep.
It easily cleared 300,000 again.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around 350,000. 344,000. Thank you, Eric.
There you
Appreciate
go.
it, bud.
Eric paid attention to the memo.
Yeah, and not many other places you can get a $344,000 prize pool off of a $300 monthly tournament.
325 is that.
So Travis, coming off his ace queen, now has ace king. So he'll get to fire at him a couple times here.
Yeah, another premium here.
Pulse. Fold.
Jack making a loose call here on the button, trying to outplay Travis here in position.
Heads up.
Yeah, well, our graphics are messing with me there. It looked like 5-5-8.
Yeah, very interesting flop here. Travis opening and then the button calling. I would expect the button to have a lot of pocket pairs, so I really like not c-betting here on this board. Also, you know, you're still going to be ahead of a lot of your opponent's hands, so you can still check call or check raise.
1 million.
Danny called it. Jack's going to try to outplay him here on the button, and he does so with this raise on the turn.
Yeah, and I really like that play. Once Travis chooses not to c-bet, you're going to put him on a lot of big card holdings like he had, and so that board is going to favor you a little bit. You're going to have more pocket pairs and full houses, so I really like taking that away, trying to establish himself as a dominant second in chips.
I'm so happy. I'm so giddy that Travis is in this field and I get to see him again. You know, he and I talked one time. He's an artist, and he and I talked. I was going to get some art from him. Like, I was going to buy some art. He does these amazing canvas prints and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Like, super, super talented guy. And then he moved away on me, and so I never got it back. So I am pumped that he's back, and I'll be able to see his talents.
Well, now that he's rolling in dough off this big finish, hopefully he gives you a good deal on a piece of art.
Yeah, he's outstanding. If you're a fan of artwork, definitely check his stuff out. Jack with the jacks.
Yeah, very tricky play here going with just the call. A little dangerous letting opponents in the pot like this, but if you want to play a lot of hands, I can understand him trying to limp with his strong hands as well.
400.
Be a little deceptive. But this is a very, very dicey board here, multi-way.
Players raising all in. And a call.
And you can see him choosing to limp now is going to get him paid here on this board.
On just a perfect flop.
Yeah, and Nick being down to 8 bigs, once you flop top pair, you really got to go with it. So I don't blame him for getting all in here. Just a bit unlucky to run into a slow played pair of jacks. Well played, both players.
Dead button.
All right, so that'll be an elimination here for Nick. He will finish up in 7th place. See if we can hit the payouts first. Oh, we got it. 7th place. He will lock up $7,800 for his efforts. And players now are guaranteed 5 digits, $10,300 the next payout.
Amazing. 5 figures off of a $300 buy-in. What a great payday for everybody. This is where the real poker begins. Let's see who can maneuver themselves into a position here to take down the big prize.
Think about it.
I mean, yeah. Would you not want to go all in every single hand?
No, but you would like maybe see some flops and, you know. I got you.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate you joining us here tonight.
Pulse 150.
Trying to bring you guys good commentary. If there's anything you want to hear, let us know. We want to make sure you guys get a good show.
GG for Nick. Great run for him to outlast 1,400 people and finish with a very nice payout. We'll see him soon in Las Colinas and Dallas as well.
Yeah, and let us know if you want us to talk more, talk less, if you guys want to hear the players more. We definitely are open to any suggestions here.
That's not red.
Yeah, they've been a little quiet tonight. Jack's starting to get a little fired up, though.
Yeah, there's definitely probably some nerves here playing at a final table under the lights. So most of these players are just locked and focused on making the best plays possible.
Yeah, it's definitely a little different than our Tuesday night cash game crowd. They like to talk a little smack and get after it and have fun. These tournament final tables, they are definitely more in the zone, game-faced and ready to go.
Honestly, it took me almost a year to get comfortable under these lights, and that's one of the fun things about playing on stream is you get a lot of practice playing under high-pressure situations, and you can obviously go back and watch it here at the end and learn from your mistakes and your good plays.
Jim Coyle says, great job, RJ and Danny in the chat. Thank you so much for the kind words. We appreciate that.
Are you out of here?
Jack with another premium. Ace King, he'll bump it up.
Raise.
Yeah, I was curious to see if he was going to go for another trap with a limp. Does decide to raise, which is going to be the standard play here with ace-king.
And really, I liked his trap going into Grace and Nick from the position he was in with those jacks.
Yeah, you're going to get re-jammed on a lot, especially Nick being short. So he's definitely capable of various plays. You saw him try to outplay Travis there earlier with the 10-9.
Greg's going to rip here with his ace-deuce, and he will get called quickly by the ace-king of jacks.
Yeah, I think he has a little bit too many chips here to be jamming with ace-deuce against earlier position open.
That's still 2.6 million, and he finds a deuce.
What a sweat.
King or queen.
Yeah, he still had 17 or 18 bigs. Sometimes it's easy to feel like you're getting a little too short, but you really have to focus on how many big blinds you have and not necessarily where you are relative to everybody else. It does end up hitting the deuce, though, and getting the full double.
So the full double there coming in handy for Greg. Jack will take a little hit there. He'll fall to 10.77. In his stack, Greg moves up to 5.4.
You gotta ask for it, right?
So now we're doing.
And yeah, that's that spot where it's easy to feel like you're getting short and you're a little bit anxious to do something, but really, like you said, if you're just focusing on those blinds, know how many blinds you have, it'll keep you in that comfort zone.
Yeah, and Grace was also still a smaller stack, so the next pay jump is over $4,000. So you don't want to get too crazy. And the other issue is having a deuce in your hand. You're not really blocking any of your opponent's strongest opens. And then also if they call with a hand like sevens or eights, now you only have one overcard to their hand. So you prefer to have a lot better high card value when you're going for a jam in that spot.
Another thing I find interesting here about Greg's spot is do you feel the anxiety from the players around you? You know, Nate to his right with a bunch of chips, Travis to his left, they've been kind of battling it out. And do you feel that when you're kind of stuck in between them?
I mean, that's definitely possible. I try to focus on the variables that are more important to laddering up. But I could definitely understand that, being surrounded by two big stacks, feeling like he needs to make something happen. And it worked out for him. This board pretty much misses everybody, so we've seen Jack here be very aggressive and try to take down the free pots. I expect it to work here as well. He is playing very well. Just got very unlucky there with the ace-king, but you can see how he is earning chips without much resistance, which is one of the best ways to win these poker tournaments.
Jack is in a good groove, and he's moved up to 11.22 million in his stack.
Yeah, even after losing that pot, he is still clearly in second. Eventually, he's going to have to start battling against Nate, but let's see how these two players maneuver against everybody else.
Sorry. You know, fan mail.
And Grace is doing a good job fighting off some of her holdings. She's kind of had the tweeners here so far tonight, where you want to kind of maybe get in there, but not so much. And she's doing a great job just letting those go. And
yeah, staying patient. One of the most important things you can do here as a small stack, definitely can try to wait for a hand.
So here we go. Travis in the small blind with kings. He'll bump it up. Find no customers, so he'll take it down here.
Yeah, and you can see the two chip leaders are choosing to limp quite a bit. I do like entering a lot of pots, but because your opponents have to play so tight, I really would prefer them to open with any hands that they are going to play with. You don't have to make it a large sizing either. You can make it 2x the big blind, but that gives you a chance to take it down pre-flop.
That was a close one.
Yeah, I think I was told one time when you're picking on those smaller stacks, not letting them breathe a little bit, you can raise with medium holdings, and you can trap with big ones.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the queen four suited is good enough to raise in that spot as the chip leader. So I don't mind him playing the hand, but if you are going to play it, you want to give yourself a chance to win without necessarily having to make the best hand. And to do that, you're going to need to add a little bit of aggression. Aggression is one of the most important things to add to your game
Heads up to the flop.
to become a top player.
For a few days.
Check. Check, check.
Interesting board here. We've got a top pair and a straight draw versus the flush draw of Grace. Now, because Grace had no showdown value with the 6 high, but a strong draw, I wouldn't mind to see her go for that flop C-bet to try to take it down. Because even Jack's no equity hands are still going to be ahead of Grace at showdown.
So that way you eliminate having to see a turn against Queen 4 or something like that.
Exactly, yeah. And so this will be interesting. The only way she could win the pot now is to bluff. But at the same time, again, you don't want to be having clubs in your hand, so I prefer, I think a give up is fine as well. Yeah, it's always tough when you have no showdown value trying to figure out if you should bluff the river. But you want your opponent to have hands that would call the turn and fold the river, like clubs. But that being said, since she has the lowest possible clubs there, and the board ran out very dangerously, and Jack checked out of position, I think a bluff there would be fine as well.
75, yes.
Or maybe it's just the flat.
You're good.
Especially with the 4-liner to a straight there.
Okay.
Yeah, Queen 4 would have got there.
Yep.
Done practicing. Let's do it.
All right, now that Greg's got a bunch of chips back up over 30 bigs, he is going to open the hijack here.
Calls.
And you can tell Jack likes to see a lot of flops here, just calling with the button with ace queen suited. This hand flops very well. It plays very well post flop, so I actually really like the flat there. You also get to keep in your opponent's dominated range. So for example, right here,
He's going to run it into top set on this one.
ooh, this is a tough one though. But you know, Greg having queen jack, if he raises there, Greg's just going to fold. But now he keeps Greg in, so if a queen does come on the flop, now he can, you know, play for stacks, exactly. But that's all a moot point because Ron here flops top set. He's got the nuts. He can't lose this hand. See if Ron goes for a little bit of value here. See what sizing he chooses.
600?
600.
Very small size here out of position. I think that's good. You're blocking all of your opponent's strongest hands, so they're not really going to have too much. You could even try to check and get your opponents to bluff again. Let's see if Jack decides to go for the call with ace high.
Jack likes to play and be active here on his buttons, and he will make the call.
Nines full of
Yeah, the problem here with a hand like top set is now your opponents can't really have top pair. So yes, you're going to hope that they have like a deuce X hand or an 8, but it's really hard for your opponents to be too strong here. So I do like the small bet. Really well played and was able to get value from ace high because of the small size. I think if he went a little bit larger, Jack would have had to fold. Really well played, Ron.
Still 391 viewers out there. So we are 6-handed here. Texas Card House Dallas. This, the even bigger one, final table.
Thank you all for joining us. Remember to hit that like button while you're in here. It really means a lot to us.
Ooh, some fun holdings here.
Yeah, we got 3 premiums here at the short-handed table now. I do expect Grace here to go all in, being under 10 big blinds with a premium such as 10s. Very unlucky to run into Jacks.
raising all in. Holding.
All right, Grace does make the all-in, and Jack with his jacks.
Yeah, so Greg actually here also has a decision with king-queen. I think I'm just folding here. Grace has been pretty tight, and a lot of our opponent's jams are going to have us dominated. But we are in okay shape against the medium pocket pairs, which Grace will also be jamming with. Very tough spot also because you have jacks still left to act with a big stack behind you. So even if you call here, you're not necessarily closing the action. which adds a lot of risk to the situation.
And he's peeking over there to look at Jack's limp.
Yeah, I think if Jack was not there, then it's a much closer spot where you could call. But I really like the discipline to lay down with Jack behind him.
All right, so Grace is at risk here. She was all in for 1.3 million. She's going to need to find a 10 here up against the Jacks of Jack.
Down to the last card.
And that board stays super small.
Good game, Grace. Really well played. I love to see her patience. She was able to ladder up 3 spots off of a short stack and, you know, make, I think, $8,000 in pay jumps.
Yes, great job, Grace, here at the final table. The cards weren't the best, but her patience has paid off pretty well. She finishes 6th place and earned $300.
No, you're right, 6th place. Yeah.
Yeah, is that what we are?
Yeah.
Okay,
So 5,000 in pay
yeah.
jumps.
So 10,300 for her effort today, and she's probably fired up about that.
Yeah, really great job. Next person out is guaranteed 14,000. Really serious pay jumps coming up.
So we are 5-handed now. Guaranteed 14, you say?
14,000.
Awesome. So it's real poker time now.
Thank you.
Come on.
So Travis with a
Put some whiskey
pretty
in it,
solid
some
starting hand under the gun. He'll make it 325,000. Blinds are up to 150 now.
Yeah, I think you know, most people, when they get a hand like an ace X, they're going to want to defend their big blind. But I think in this specific situation, you're actually asking for trouble. The fact that Travis opened under the gun, he's going to have you dominated a lot. And if you do hit your ace, you're not going to win a big pot, but you could lose a big pot. So generally, late in a tournament where ICM is in consideration, I prefer just folding this pre-flop. I think you'll add a lot to your win rate if you start folding these in-between type hands.
It is amazing how position often tells the story, and you don't have to go full GTO to know it or to recognize it, but it's definitely things you want to know.
You just want to think about what kind of hands your opponent's going to have in different positions. And the fact that Travis opened under the gun, he's going to have a lot of very strong hands there. Luckily, the board came out pretty bad for both players and was able to check down, losing the minimum here.
You've only been involved in like 1 or 2 big hands. I guess that's all you need. You don't need the little pots. You just want 1 big pot.
Yeah, and Travis, he's fired at a couple of pots. 1 went pretty well, and I think 2 went poorly, so he might be a little snake bitten on some of his C bets here. So it seems like he slowed down just a bit after a couple of them went badly.
Yeah, Travis has had a very emotional final table, getting that big triple up there with aces, followed by some tough beats. Let's see if he can stay disciplined and focused and continue to play a strong final table.
So Jack raises it up with 4s, and Nate will just call with his 8s.
Yeah, we've got the 2 chip leaders here, so I expect them to both be very careful against one another. Neither are incentivized to play a big pot. Very interesting board. This is going to favor the in-position caller, but Jack does feel like he needs a little bit of protection here with 4s.
And how much of that do you consider protection, or just is it more of an investigative type of bet?
Well, I don't think of it as an investigative bet. Generally, you want to understand why you're betting. So, you know, you're betting for value, and then you're not necessarily on the flop. It's not going to ever be a full bluff, but there's a combination of it's a spectrum, a combination of protection and value. If you bet small, you can get big ace type hands to call you where you're still ahead, or you'll get hands that have equity against you, like maybe queen 10 suited, to fold, where they're going to be able to hit a lot of those free cards on the turn. So you do have a lot of incentive to try to get those types of hands to fold. But I think Nate calling here in position is going to have a lot of pocket pairs, so I wouldn't mind checking right off the bat and kind of, reacting to what Nate does, especially him being the chip leader.
Ace Jack for Ron under the gun. He raises it up. The standard small 2x and some change. We do get 2 spades on this flop, so we could see some action. Both players holding spades.
425 is that?
Yeah, if a spade comes here, I expect Ron to possibly get a full double up. Ooh.
Check.
Hello, king.
Does hit the king.
Check, check.
Jack is feeling it.
Check, check.
Oh.
Kings and
Check,
deuces.
check on the river here. Both players on their best behavior.
Yeah, very conservative against one another there.
We both yelling for a spade, but
No, I was happy with the king.
when you saw it on the turn.
I like that, Jack. You don't want to be greedy. Be happy with
Yeah.
the king.
Just the king.
Yeah.
King's fine.
I don't
Big
want
blind, please.
to be rude, but you hurt my feelings.
Hey, Sassy, thanks for joining us. Another local player here.
I'm pretty sure I can take it, but
Her and her husband both play at TCH Dallas.
Might get a little misty.
Don't worry,
Hello,
I'm just gonna
Sassy.
give
Good to
him the
see you.
Always
Always one of my very
Every
favorite
time I'll be somebody
chat
over there, he
people.
gets something next time.
No, that spade would come. You would bet I would raise, and then you would have just pushed it all in. Me? And I had
So yeah, players have slowed down here just a bit as they've these blinds not quite putting any pressure on their stack, so they're going to be able to battle it out here for a few levels.
Yeah, and now that Grace as the small stack has busted, players are going to need to be a lot more careful off of a small stack because they're trying to outlast one another for very big pay jumps. So they're incentivized to play very tight. That being said, we are down to 5-handed, so you can't play too tight because the blinds are going to start eating you up. So it's kind of that balancing game between those two thoughts.
Yeah, you're now in the blinds.
I mean, I checked the turn thinking you're going to bet out of it, yeah.
2 hands of the 5 in every orbit.
Thinking about it, but you check
So
back,
Nate's
and
going to
the
have
river
find
comes, I
himself
know
with some
the only
kings
card-
here.
The only time I'm getting called is that
Travis
forward
has
if I'm
raised.
So,
Well, I could have had like an open there.
no, I know.
Yeah, you want to be careful opening light into the chip leader, not being one of the smaller stacks. I'd prefer to have Jack 9 suited, but he is getting after it, trying to outplay his opponents here. And unfortunately, Nate did wake up with a premium here and 3 bets and takes it down. Sassy, it's always good to do adulting first. Poker is always here. You got to take care of your real life first,
Yes,
and
I'm
then
proud
come
of
join
you.
us. I'm trying to work on adulting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably could let out bet, but
I did too much pokering and never became an adult, so I'm proud of you.
Never too late. Took me 38 years to try to become an adult. Still not there, but getting
No
close.
shame in folding.
325.
I actually really like this open here from Nate in the small blind. Generally, especially with a big stack, you're going to want to do a lot of calling and limping. And then with your trash offsuit hands, you want to start mixing in some raises to just try to take it down pre-flop because it doesn't play very well. And he's got a lot of incentive, or Greg has a lot of incentive to play tight, so he can really push him around. But Greg does flop an open-ender, so this could get a little interesting. I wouldn't mind just trying to, Greg is already the small stack, so he is going to have to gamble before everyone else. So I do like raising here and putting the pressure on Nate. I think he played this really well. Takes
Indeed,
it down.
he does.
me,
Perfect.
me in the pot.
I was just thinking that. I was like,
I think that was really well played by both players.
But no shame in folding.
you should be knocking all 3.
Yeah, and since Nate does want to see a lot of flops there and do a lot of limping, 9 deuce off just plays so bad that you can either turn that into a raise, trying to turn it into a bluff right away, or just fold pre-flop. But being the chip leader, I do like a raise there.
I think that's a fair request.
Yeah, and Greg doesn't want to just call there, being a short stack, and start investing, trying to hit his hand. He gave himself an extra out to win by turning his hand into a bluff, and I really like the way that he played that hand.
And he is all in here with 6-7 suited in the small blind. Just the big blind behind him.
Yeah, so he only has one player to get through, but keep in mind that he has almost 30 big blinds now, so he is risking quite a lot of chips just to take down the blinds. 7-6 suited does play well. I wouldn't mind just limping there, trying to see a flop, but does go for the jam, and Travis does have to fold. Keeping him on his toes. And players that you know, are going to start mixing it up and go for the win now that they're down to 5. Everybody's locked up $14,000, so it'll be nice to see who really wants to kind of get out of line and go for the win. And sometimes that's what it takes to win these big field tournaments. You know, counting on your opponents to be scared, a little too tight and nitty, and you can definitely win some free chips doing that. So, love to see the aggression by these players.
You can do it.
And now that even the short stacks have over 30 big blinds, I do expect, well, yeah, everybody's got over 30 big, so I expect the play to slow down quite a bit. This is a very difficult stack size to maneuver with ICM considerations.
He hasn't made one.
I just made.
Definitely anyone's game.
He told me that I could have folded.
Yeah, I mean, the average stack is probably 40 or 50 big blinds at this point.
I count.
A lot of play, really great structures here at Dallas. 30-minute levels day 1. I believe 40-minute levels day 2.
I believe so.
Yep. Really slow increases in the blinds. Allows you to play patient.
Yeah, I'm not going to break your streak yet.
Yeah, Mitchell, you could also just raise there as well. I agree. I think a jam is a little bit big, but it does work, takes it down. One of the nice things is even when your opponent calls, 7-6 suited can suck out on a lot of the big hands and is not in that bad of a shape. But I think overall your risk premium is not worth it.
Probably the first place on it.
Yeah.
Small one.
Yeah, I do expect it to take a lot longer moving forward unless we get some cooler setups here.
Because when I see that
Yeah, sometimes I like maybe the full 3x raise in that spot to where you don't have to risk everything, but you send a message that I'm not going to let you see this flop.
Yeah, absolutely. Being out of position, blind versus blind, you can definitely increase your raise size just a little bit. So like 3 to 3.5 off of that stack size.
Ron has pocket 9s again. 431 viewers. We are cranking out there.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
All here to hear Danny Marks.
Oh, you too, RJ. I appreciate it, though. No, it's a lot of fun to be here. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, tough spot there for Ron. One of the problems with just flatting there in the small blind is 9s is not going to be, you're not going to have a lot of clarity on most flops on how to play out of position. So a lot of players will choose to raise there. That being said, the fact that he had over 30 bigs, it's a little large to just be jamming all in, but against a button open, with Jack playing very loose and aggressive, I think a jam probably would be just fine. You could also just go for a normal 3-bet size there and potentially fold to a 4-bet jam.
I'm almost there, am I?
Back to you now.
Yeah, you can see these tournament strategies can get very complex and takes a long time to master this game. Do you prefer, RJ, do you prefer tournaments or cash games when you do get to play?
Man, to be honest, preference and what I enjoy is more tournaments.
Yeah.
To me, the competitive spirit, the trying to figure out exactly how you want to handle everything, that is way more fun to me. So I enjoy the tournament setting. But the cash game grind is cool as well. You know, it's just, to me, they're totally different.
That's exactly right. You know, cash games are definitely more of a grind. And I really like what you said there about the tournaments. It's very fresh all the time. Every spot is so unique because the stack sizes are always changing. The tournament strategy is very complex. And yeah, you just get that thrill for making a deep run in a tournament that you never get in a cash game.
550.
Yeah, and growing up, I played all kinds of team sports. I was always a very competitive psycho kid, you know, so I get to feel that a little bit more in the tournament setting, as where if you take that to a cash game grind, it can almost work against you a
I
little
need
bit.
the 9 of the ace.
Yeah, and a lot of players that play for a living, they will choose cash because it's a more consistent grind. You get to, like Sassy says, you get to choose your own schedule. You get to leave when you want, and it's more consistent income. But you just don't get that thrill that you get from tournaments. And so, if any of you have had a deep run, you know that feeling, and you want to chase that dragon and keep making those deep runs.
Yeah, you start getting to those tables that are roped off a little bit or on stream, and it definitely feels good. It can get in you a little bit.
Oh yeah. I remember my first deep run, I wanted to recreate that feeling over and over again. So I started playing more tournaments after my first big score, and that's usually how it goes with players.
500,000.
Greg's going to juice this one up 500K with his ace-king.
Now this is blind versus blind, so A7 is going to be a little bit better than if he were to face a raise from an earlier position. I do like just calling here. You're going to be in bad shape if you 3-bet and your opponent does continue.
So Greg will land his ace-king, king-jack 3 on the flop. Travis holding the ace of diamonds.
He's going to go a little trappy here with a check. I wonder if he's going to go for the check raise. Now, Travis does have a backdoor nut draw, so I would like to see him check. His ace high also could be good at showdown, but he's trying to get his opponent to fold some equity here, which can also be fine. One of the issues is I don't expect my opponents to fold any pairs or any hands that are beating us. And since we could already be good at showdown with our backdoor draws, we don't want to get blown off our equity. If Greg does decide to raise here, it is a disaster for Travis.
Okay, just a call here, so he's going to let Travis see this turn.
Yeah, and that could end up working out here for Travis because now he can decide if he wants to take a free card to the river. Does not get a diamond. Board is getting a little dicier. The other thing is he can represent the flush draw. So if a diamond does come, no one can have the nuts except for him. So he can turn his hand into a bluff. Greg is playing very cautiously here. He does have the ace of hearts, so his opponent can't have the nuts right now. Does decide to go for some value.
1.1.
And I think Travis is just going to have to give it up. Nice hand, Greg. Gets an extra bet out of Travis there by playing it a little trappy.
Back in the old school days, we had Twitter debates about poker tournaments and winnings and rings and trophies. And I was kind of tough on some people where I was like, man, I don't need a trophy. I don't need all this stuff. There's, a bracelet for the World Series, that's the only trophy that should exist, right, or whatever. And but then I went and won a small peon little WPT thing where they roped off our final table, and they gave me a trophy, and they took my picture, and I was like, oh, okay, you guys, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
So it is cool to see so many of those things. As today, we have a beautiful trophy right there on the table, and it's definitely fun when you get to be involved in stuff like that.
Absolutely. I feel the same exact way.
They must have messed something with it. Yeah, break out.
Yes, the whole break thing. Oh, we're good.
400.
400 is the bet. Blinds are 122. I just looked. I was like, wait, what the hell?
Sassy brings up another great point. She said she got 18th in a tournament in Oregon, but was very exhausted. And that's the thing about tournaments. It's a marathon. You're at the end of the night. You've been playing all day. It's very easy to make mistakes. Your brain can be jumbled and clouded. So a lot of the best players are the ones that can stay focused throughout the entire day and continue to make good decisions when the pressure mounts.
And, that's another just aspect of it that you have to appreciate to be successful at it. You got to be ready to dig in for the long haul because Because if not, you won't be there very long.
Absolutely. Yeah, and
yes, Bill, banners are pretty cool too.
yeah, that's fun. That I'll always have that picture up there to look at when I go back up there, and a ring to join it. So obviously that was one of the more fun experiences in my poker career. And the other thing with these tournaments is, when everybody's fresh in the morning, the stakes are very low. But now that the stakes are very high, these players have been playing for 3 days straight, very tired. And so whoever can keep their endurance up and make good decisions is going to have the best chance to win here at the end.
I know Lauren and Sassy here in the chat really talking about Ladies Night. Make sure you take note. Ladies Night, Texas Card House, Dallas, every Thursday night, 5 p.m. to midnight. If you buy 2 hours, you can get 2 hours for free. So that's a little special going on. On Ladies Night, Texas Card House right here in Dallas, that's Thursday.
Love to see it. Definitely want to get more ladies involved in the game. One thing I've noticed over the past few years is the amount of female crushers has just risen astronomically. There's a lot more great players getting into the game, and you love to see the ladies absolutely crushing the boys.
425 is about player calls.
Well, as long as it's not me that they're crushing.
Yeah, leave me alone too. Yeah.
Let me see this flop. I'll get my cards back.
They have been rocking. A7-3, 2 clubs. Travis has landed ace with his weak kicker in the small blind here. He's been in some tough spots here to the right of Jack. Jack has been getting after him a little bit.
Yeah, being short-handed button versus small blind, I'd feel a little bit more comfortable Travis having the ace here. Also, he's pretty short stacked off at 15 big, so I wouldn't mind trying to set this up for an all-in.
And I think our button just wiggled a little, so it looks like Travis is actually on the button.
It's hard. I know what you mean.
Sometimes that dot in the 7th seat gets a little complicated sometimes.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to tell if he's in the small blind or the button. And Jack actually just leads out into him on this board. Very interesting play here. I love how aggressive Jack has been, trying to get Travis to fold. Opening the button, he's going to have a lot more hands than other ace-x hands. I do really like the jam here from Travis.
I thought that was the net flush, but it was 2 spades and 1.
You could also choose to just call and try to keep Jack's bluffs in, but I wouldn't expect him to have a lot of ace-x hands leading into him on this board.
So he's still got enough that Jack really doesn't want to mess with it right now.
Yeah, he might think that he's got some flush draw type hands that he wants to protect against. One of the benefits here of just flatting is, since you only have a 4th kicker, if you do get called, you're generally not going to be in that great a shape. So by just calling, you get to keep your opponent's range wide. He's been very aggressive, Jack has, so he's very likely to continue bluffing on future streets, and you can get a little bit more value there with your ace. But a jam is also very good and does take it down.
The blinds changed.
So as Johnny is mentioning there, the blinds are going up 100, 200,000 with a 200,000 ante now, so it's getting pretty serious every 3rd or 4th hand when you're in those blinds. They are juicy.
Absolutely. The blinds are going to start forcing the action a little bit. Players are now back into a little bit more of a danger zone, the small stacks being around 20 bigs.
So they were very comfortable here the last couple of levels, but it'll start, play should start picking up here this level and the next.
I wouldn't have called 100.
Pretty good flop for Ron there.
All right, blinds are correct, guys. Just to let you know.
Is the clock right?
The clock is correct as well.
Man, it's ladies' night in the chat. Sassy, Lauren, Tara.
Yeah, we got Dory as well.
Yeah, Dory.
Thank you all so much for
Raina.
joining us.
Can we get it back?
Nope.
Remember to smash that like button while you're here. It really helps out the stream. We want to know that you're enjoying it.
When it came up to the break, it was like 20 seconds into that break before they started the clock back.
Bluey will be sad if you don't hit that like button.
414 viewers. Frank and Adam, he was in the chat reminding us earlier, make sure you click that like button. Adam does a great job of that. Staying on, everyone.
Thanks, Adam. Don't let up. Make sure they hit that like button.
King 10 versus King 10.
Yeah, and you're going to see a lot more blind versus blind battles now that we're getting short-handed. Very interesting flop here. Nate does flop the open-ender, but it is a monotone board, so he has to proceed with a little bit more caution. Greg has the gut shot, the best hand, and a flush draw, but very precarious being with his stack size, about 23 big blinds. Does proceed with a call, which I think is standard. This jack might slow down both players. Nate might think Greg has a lot of top pair type holdings after flatting. Also, a lot of the hands that had equity on the flop are not going to be changed too much on that turn card.
Check, check.
Club on the river.
Betting.
Nate does decide to turn his hand into a bluff here on the fourth club. I think Greg has a pretty clear call, especially against this bet size. I think Nate is going to continue with a lot of his big club holdings on the turn. So the fact that he checked and bet very small here, he might be doing like a little bit of a blocker bet with a Jack X or a 9X holding or a small or medium club. I think this is a perfect hand to just call with.
All in.
All in.
All in.
Doesn't even have to show it.
Does decide to go for the all-in, thinks he can get a call from a worse club or a jack. I think it gets a little bit dicey. I expect our opponent to fold everything worse and call everything better. So it's kind of an in-between type of spot.
Feeling a little dangerous.
Look at him. Greg's a killer. We can all see that from here.
Yeah, and Greg is actually, you know, he's been mixing up his play quite a bit, keeping the opponents guessing. So there's definitely some value to that as well. Really hard to put a player on a hand when he's willing to kind of use a mergy, middling type of range for his value in that spot. Starts making your bluff catchers a little bit worse if you're in the opponent's seat.
450 is now the bet.
So Jack is limping under the gun here with his ace-jack. Nate's bumping it up with his suited queen. We referred to that earlier.
Yep.
Good position on the button. But he's going to find some resistance here. Greg has ace-king in the small blind.
Yeah, Greg with a premium off of 33 big blinds. I do expect to put in a 3-bet. Does decide to just call. Can get a little dangerous because Jack limping now is going to likely enter the pot and it's going to be multi-way. But now that he's got a bit larger of a stack, he definitely doesn't want to risk busting either. So decides to take a flop. A little bit underrepresented too, so an ace can win him a big pot.
5, deuce, deuce. Interesting flop here for Nate to continue with his position.
450.
Yeah, I think this is going to miss almost everybody most of the time, but there are going to be some pocket pairs out there as well, especially when Greg decides to flat and Jack limp calls. But Nate can definitely start putting on the pressure early. He's got overcards, backdoor flush draw, and the chip lead. So he can win on a lot of runouts, so I don't mind starting the aggression now.
Check.
The 6 is not a great card for him to continue because Jack's pocket pairs that call the flop are still going to be able to call on the turn. So you want to start barreling when bigger cards come on the turn and river. So I don't mind a give up there as
Y'all
well.
see that? I beat Nate in a pot. Y'all see?
Save that
Yeah, Greg's going to be kicking himself a little bit for not
hanging in there.
for not 3-betting pre-flop and trying to take that down. Aggression does win these tournaments, but he's definitely at an awkward stack size as well.
Let's hope that's
And
the
Jack
last
gets a
time.
little sticky there, and he brings home a nice little pot of 2.6
I
million.
think.
Yeah, and Jack's been very
gonna
tough
be
to play
doing that
against.
for a
He's
while.
really been mixing up his play a lot,
Whether it's
playing both
tonight or
aggressively and a lot of
4 weeks
hands.
from now, or
So
whenever it
I
was.
definitely like his chances here to win this tournament.
Mixing it up very well over there in the 8th seat.
Yeah. Too
Greg's going to find
Travis.
7-9 suited on the
He's
button.
smiling at me. I'm not
I'm
calling
gonna
you
give.
because of that
I'm gonna have
shit.
a free one.
Raise
This will be good.
450s.
Till I win something, might be out of here. So
I'll fold.
Folds and folds.
Greg will raise it up and take down the blinds and antes. No resistance there.
Yep, nice hand to open with on the button.
So-
He's a little bit deeper now, so he can play a few more
So
hands.
Nate, interesting story. I know your name's not Nathan, but you know how your brothers.
Just has to make
Yeah, you
sure
know your
he
brothers-
outlasts
your
Travis here.
brother's name is Jack, right?
Right.
The one that passed away. Well,
Yeah.
my brother's name is Nathan.
Really? Wow.
So I meant to tell you that last night, and then we got to play. it, and I
100,
forgot about it.
200,000 here are the blinds.
Calls 200.
406 viewers right now for this final table. We're still 5-handed. Of you 406 viewers, we have 60-something likes.
Kinda cool.
So you guys need to be smashing like is what that means. There's 400 people watching, still running a little low on likes, so make sure you click that button.
Yeah, no reason to watch and not give us the like. So while you're here, remember to hit that like button. It means a lot to us, so we really appreciate it.
Check.
Check. 200 is a bet. Folds.
Interesting board here. 2 pair for Ron versus
Pulse. Heads up to the river.
1 pair, middle pair for Jack.
350.
350.
Thank you, sir.
Ron takes it down there with 2
You
pair.
got $12 I can borrow?
Get in advance.
It's a,
I can lend you some money right now. I'm sure you're going to be good for it in a minute.
That's that inside joke from what the 20 to the 12 that we were talking about last night. The 20 to the 12. 20 bucks.
No, I paid Donovan right there.
Okay.
Donovan was up at the bar.
Now you
with-
get it.
with Michael. Yeah, now
And as we expected, play has definitely slowed down, but the blinds are going up and the short stacks are just getting shorter, so eventually they're going to need to make a move.
550.
550 is now the bet.
I believe Travis now is the clear
Now
short
there's
stack,
being
but definitely
beat,
not in the danger zone, so plenty of play left.
Yeah, Greg's done a pretty good job battling right there in the position he's been able to chip up in that
Yeah.
6th seat.
More magic trick.
Yeah, both Greg and Ron have been able to chip up quite a bit. And I think that's one of the
So,
dangers,
Donovan, they bet
both
straight
Nate
up
and
at
Jack
20
limping a
bucks
lot,
that he would
is
make
they're giving
the,
their opponents a lot of chance
final
to realize
So we got
equity
down to 2
instead
tables,
of
you know, we got knocked
leaving
out,
that
and then
aggression
so he
pedal to
owed
the
him like
metal
$8, so I
with
had to
those
give
big
him
chip
12.
stacks.
So we were all
And so they've been
laughing
bleeding a little bit back to Greg and Ron. Travis off of 21 bigs and 7s. I do expect him to enter this pot.
Raise 450.
Does go for a standard 2x open, just over 2x. I do like it.
2 and some change for the open. Ron will call from the button with King Queen. That'll probably bring Greg in as well.
And a call. 3 players.
Yeah, I think Travis is going to have a pretty tight range here under the gun, so I don't mind just flatting here in Ron's spot with the King Queen.
see
Hand plays pretty well post flop.
See a big old flop here with Ace King.
Checks all around.
So that puts Travis in a tough spot with this small pair out of position.
Yeah, and I think if Travis is going to be trying to win this pot, he needs to c-bet the flop. I think multi-way, especially after Ron flats the button, giving up is just fine as well. He's got a lot to risk by putting any more chips into the pot. Being so short, every chip matters quite a bit to him. And at this point, I think he just needs to give up unless he wants to put in a creative bluff here and raise.
Pulse.
I think it's a little dangerous there, flatting there with 4th pair. Even your opponent's bluffs that have just a queen or a jack have a lot of equity against you.
Aces and kings with a
Yeah, so it may not seem like a ton there calling off that bet there on the turn, which was 500,000, but that's 2.5 blinds.
If you would have ripped it, I would have snap called.
Yeah.
Because nobody with 3 aces is going to.
Yeah, and now he's down to 17 big blinds. So again, he still isn't in the danger zone, but you can see why every chip matters at this point to him. So it was a little bit dangerous. I think if he's going to be calling bets, he should have been the one betting himself as the pre-flop raiser. He is going to have all the strongest hands there, all the big aces, and so that way you give yourself a chance to win.
And you could have spent the same amount on the flop
Exactly,
instead of calling the turn.
So might as well put in that bet yourself. Aggression is always the name of the game here. All right, I am going to let the puppy out real quick, so I'm going to leave this to RJ. Try not to bust too many players here while I'm gone.
We'll be here. So we get the queen, 7-5, all spades flops while our players are holding all red cards. So not a lot of action there. Jack will make a bet and be able to take it down.
Yeah, thank you.
So we are 53 hands into this final table. The even bigger one, the monthly tournament here at Texas Card House Dallas. More than $340,000 in this prize pool for a $300 buy-in. These are the 5 players we have left.
Don't they have the other card that says 3-bet? It's a 3-bet sign. You just go over the top.
So here we are, blind on blind again. We're going to have a lot of blind on blind crime here as the players are now 5-handed. This is not a cash game. Final table tonight. Be sure you join us Tuesday night and throughout the week. Make sure you click subscribe on TCH Live and you will get plenty of cash game action throughout the week. But tonight, this one here, final table of a pretty juicy.
This guy was kind of wild. He went all in. I had king, queen.
$340,000 prize pool tournament.
He had 8 deuce. He got a deuce on a flop, and that was it. And it took. Is it me? No. Okay. It took me a tiny while to get over it, but then I told myself, if he knew he had 8 deuce, you would have called 100% of the time.
Yep. You would have called anyway.
So then I just kind of got over it. Check.
So we got some holdings here, kind of raggy.
Whatever the other way, they just don't want
The cards were extremely fired up there for about the first hour of this final table. They're starting to slow down a little bit. A lot of 10-3 versus King-9 right now.
I don't even have the same color.
So we'll be able to see these, which players can take advantage. There's always pots to be had, no matter of the holdings. Here's a look at our player stacks. Travis, they're in the 7th seat. He's at 3.38 million. He's our low stack right now, all the way up. Jack in the 8th seat, Nate in the 4th seat. Those are our chip leaders. Jack has a suited 9-8 on the button. He's going to raise it up to 475. Gets a call from Nate and his King 10. We'll see a flop. Jack 9-4. All hearts, but nobody holding any hearts. Jack will land middle pair. Nate. Gutter ball and a couple of overs. Check for Nate. Both players being very careful here as they don't want to get too messy with chip leader against chip leader here.
650.
That's 2, y'all. 2.
So Jack will pick up a little one there. 1.9 million in that pot.
One more and it's going to be a streak.
They'll make it a habit, though.
I'm trying not to make a habit of being in the pot with you.
Or a trend. That'd be just fine with me, Jack. If
You
you're
just
not.
keep on going the way you go.
Still
You go on the cover of
392
cardboard.
viewers
You never know.
and a lot of people chit-chatting in the chat,
I've been
so
there
thank you
before.
guys for that. Love interacting and seeing you guys interact with each
It
other.
was one of the
That's
ads
pretty
on the
cool.
back.
Fold. Fold. Fold.
7 deuce jack 5 in the muck. Nate has a king and a 9 against the big blind of Greg, holding a 10 and a 4. So we'll see a limp and a check. Now last time we've seen Nate open it up a little bit with some of those holdings that aren't all that strong to be able to try to take some pots down. This time he does land a king. Checks the flop, likes to check there for value, see if big blind can pick something up behind him. He'll lead out here on the turn as it's the 8 of diamonds, so that puts a lot of draws into play as it's kind of connected. And
Wow, I finally beat this guy. Now I know how you
fortunately for
feel.
Nate, Greg
Yep,
doesn't have much
Jack.
of anything, so he'll pick
Trying
up
to
small pot and
beat
we'll go to the
somebody.
next one.
That I hadn't beaten yet.
I think you beat me.
Are there any 1-1 games in Dallas or
He hasn't
TCH?
been bad enough. That's what he's
Not
trying
today.
to say.
Texas Card House
We never-
Dallas
we
will
never
run
played
a
them.
1-2 game with buy-ins anywhere from
that was
$60 to
first time
$500. That's at Texas Card House Dallas. And the Texas Card House in Las Colinas over in the Irving area, that 1-2 game will run with buy-ins from $60 to $300.
Right.
So the cap's a little bit smaller, makes the games a little bit different. The 1-2 games at the Dallas location can get crazy, and the 1-2 games at Las Colinas definitely just a fraction more chill with that $300 cap.
We can make this a trend.
Sassy informing you there in the chat as well, pretty much saying the same thing. Looks like our friends Danny and Bluey are back.
Great to be back. Did I miss anything exciting?
Not much, really. It's been kind of raggy here. We've seen a few limps, blind on blind limps. So not a whole lot going on while you were gone.
Yeah, as expected, play is going to get a little bit more conservative being this deep, as every player is incentivized to ladder up.
Oh, she's good. I was just nervous earlier over there. I don't think it's bad.
400.
Can't get in too much trouble, huh?
Took my damn bet. That's
Louie's
what
being
I
a good
thought.
girl over here.
Let me see if I
Greg
can
will
get
take
things
down a
numbered.
little
Hold on.
something there.
Greg,
2 million in that
things
pot.
numbered all day long.
Yeah, and with everybody getting a little bit more conservative, it could definitely be beneficial if someone decides to get a little bit out of line and try to turn up the heat and run over the table. Let's see if anybody decides to go for the win here.
Maybe I'll just have to do it. I guess I'll have to do it myself.
How skilled are the players at TCH from the chat? Well, it's a large players pool down here, so you're going to find a little bit of everything. You're going to find very skilled to very new players. So that's the beauty of poker. Every time you sit down, you get to try to figure out which is which, and
I don't want Greg in the pot.
there's plenty of everything.
House 4.
Absolutely. We love playing with all different types of players. A lot of people have jobs and play for fun. A lot of other players take it more seriously, but I think it's important to treat all players with respect and just have a good time at the table, no matter who you're playing against.
Check.
Mallory, another one of our female local crushers here, joining us in the chat. Thanks for joining us, Mallory. If you guys want to play on our Tuesday cash live stream, Mallory is the one to talk to, and she can get you into the lineup.
Yeah, Mallory, the lovely Mallory, runs the Tuesday night cash streams, and we'll show that number here in just a second and get through this hand.
Yeah, we finally got a little bit of a cooler situation being shorthanded, top pair versus top pair. And the 5 is both players are going to like, so this could get, I expect a little bit more money to go into the pot here.
They're on their best behavior with a check, being a little timid here with top pair.
Yeah, it does decide to go for a little bit of pot control. I do expect the Jack-10 here to be a two-street type of hand. So I don't mind checking on the turn, trying to get your value on the river or vice
I
versa.
had a feeling you had me too. That's why I checked the turn.
So he does pick up a little value there on the river. Entices the bet
I'm sorry, I thought he had spade. I thought it was just spade.
from Ron. Oh, I guess there's trips on the board now.
Yeah, so both players with a chopping full house.
You got everybody's number. I'm just going to call you.
I thought there was still just
now.
2 5s on
I
the
got
board. That
everyone's
third
number,
5
right?
come out, so it's Chop
It's going to
City.
take me a little while to get there.
And
I'm just
all the players are kind of running away here from Travis a little bit, who's down to 14 big blinds. He's definitely getting into the danger zone. He's going to have to find a shoving hand here shortly.
And real quick, while there's a lot of chit-chat in the chat about cash games, that is the lovely Mallory, who to contact if you want to get on stream Tuesday nights here at Texas Card House in the cash game scenario. So we can show that real quick. And back to action here at the final table.
Take it back, take it.
So small blind and big blind, Jack versus Ron. The lead out on the turn will take it down. No players really have anything. So aggression picks up a couple blinds.
Yeah, and I really like, one thing I like about Jack is he's really been picking up these orphan pots and going after it. And you've seen him pick up quite a few chips just from other people not showing aggression. So that's definitely something that's been keeping him in the lead here.
And yeah, those orphan pots that you call them mean so much in tournament settings. When you're able to pick up those free 2, 3, 4 extra blinds, it definitely adds up.
Yeah, every chip is so valuable at this point. So if you can get a good read that your opponents are not interested in the pot and take it down with nothing, that's really going to go a long way towards your chances to win the tournament.
What's that?
Check.
Take it back.
King 6-9. So that flop will scare away the deuces. Greg gets to continue, and we'll take it down.
Yeah, nice c-bet there by Greg. That board is going to favor him a lot. He can probably bet his entire opening range. The fact that he opened under the gun, he's going to have a lot of King X typed hands and other strong holdings. Really well played. Takes it down. This is a close spot here for Travis off of 14.5 bigs.
Definitely a tweener there under the gun.
Yeah, I prefer not to be calling anything at this point. Being the short stack, you're going to get pushed around a lot, and you don't want to give your opponents free equity. So I wouldn't mind just either jamming or opening to 2x here. Does decide to go with a limp. It could work out for him if his opponents flop a strong second best hand, such as the case right here.
So he's able to sneak in there with that limp, and he lands top pair with his King 10, but it's all diamonds.
Yeah, again, these full monotone flops, especially multi-way, are very tricky. Your opponents are going to have a lot of equity to continue with.
That 400.
So Greg recognizing that he may have a solid diamond for this scenario. He will lead out.
Yeah, I don't think Travis can give up yet. He does have top pair. Your opponents are going to have a lot of diamond, single diamond holdings here. So I like just calling here in position, trying to get your opponent to continue bluffing. Could work out for him.
A 4-liner here hits on the river with the 7 of hearts. Not a diamond, but it does put out a little bit of an ugly straight card.
Betting 600.
I do like a bluff here, but I think you need to go a little bit larger and really put the pressure on Travis being the short stack. Only betting 600 into a pot of 1.8 is going to give Travis a really good price. It's still a difficult spot with the diamonds and the 4-liner.
Yeah, you can see the tough spot. Travis is in there, definitely taking a peek at Greg.
Yeah, but in the end, you got to realize how good of a price you have, and you don't have to be good here very often to call. So he has to decide how often Greg is bluffing. Does get away with the bluff. Nice hand, Greg. Really like to see the aggression there.
They sent an email.
And Travis lets it go.
Yeah, Travis has had a rough go of it since those aces hands. He's had a lot of second best hands and tough spots. Let's see if he can bounce back here. Still has over 10 bigs.
Now we're getting to that stage of the tournament where an ace in the cutoff can be a little bit valuable, so the Ron will raise this one up to 400,000.
Yeah, I like to see him coming in with aggression here. You know, Travis down to a small stack. You definitely don't want to be seeing 5 high. I like the disciplined fold. You want every chip matters so much here. Earlier in the tournament, if you're a little bit deeper, you can defend there. But in this case, you just aren't deep enough to really have any implied odds or implied equity. So I like just giving it up. You want to have a hand where if you do enter the pot, he wants to come in for an all-in at this point. Mitchell with a good point. The 600 could seem really value-y. Maybe he thought his opponent was doing that with the hand he wanted to get called with. But in the end, you definitely have to think about the odds and how often you have to be good there to call that bet.
Big slick for Nate. He's in the cutoff. He'll raise it up.
Yeah, I like to see Nate here opening with a big stack, put pressure on his opponents.
And we will see action here.
Yeah, and Travis finally gets a hand here. Really easy all in, and I expect Nate to call, and we are off to the races.
Off to the races, Travis. At risk, all in for 1.8 million versus Nate and the Ace King.
Yeah, and these types of hands are inevitable in a tournament. You're going to get a lot of strong hand versus strong hand and off to a flip. And you definitely going to have to win these to be able to take down
King,
the tournament.
7-8, and it's not over yet as we have open-ended.
Straight draw. Oh, he gets there.
Bingo!
I saw that. Right when I saw the 9, I said 6 or jack.
It is very important to run out of chips at the right time, and Travis has done
I
that.
wasn't rooting for anything.
Needs a 6, a jack, or a 10 to stay alive, and finds it.
Yeah, the non-club variety too. Obviously, he saw his tournament life flashing before his eyes there, but it's not over until the river hits. Nice hand there from Travis, and just like that, he's got some more life, back up over 20 bigs. And he's the short stack off of 21 big blinds, so once again, we have plenty of play here.
I'm waiting for that curve to come out. Just say it. Come on, Ron. What's your?
I've been spreading them around.
So what is your defect, Ron? Just
There we go. Our first wild run out of the evening.
do homework for me.
Yeah, just a standard cooler spot there.
I don't mind.
Both players played it well.
Really, our first standard ship and auto call, and our first crazy run out.
Yeah, a lot of tough spots for these players here. So see who can make the best decisions moving forward.
So you're a Sooner as well?
Oh, yes. Born and raised.
There you go. I hear some Sooner speak there coming from the 6 and 7. My Oklahomies. Thought I saw a Jordan Sooner logo there on Greg.
That's your team, right? You go watch the Sooners play?
Yep. I've spent a lot of time in Norman, a couple years of college there, and of course, Mom and myself have lived there off and on, gosh, for 20 years.
Well,
and fortunately, still get to go back and watch some Sooner games once in a while. So yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, I haven't been to Oklahoma too often. Usually when I do, it's to go to Durant to play the World Series of Poker circuit stop there in Choctaw. But I definitely would like to explore a little bit more of the state.
Beautiful. Come football season, remind me. We'll get you up there and we'll go to a game.
Absolutely, that'd be a ton of fun.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I understand.
There's a little bit of Boomer in the chat, so yeah, thank you guys very much.
Okay.
Boomer and Sooner, and actually, one of my good friends I grew up with, their kid is a hockey player at Oklahoma State. So
okay.
So I've had a lot of fun supporting some of our Cowboys friends up there as well. So.
And this is the first really out of line situation so far. I actually am not surprised it's from Jack here. He's probably opening any two on the button. He realizes that the play has been very passive, so he can win a lot of pots here by being aggressive. Let's see how hard he tries to win this pot.
He will need an 8.
Now, generally when the small card pairs on the board like that, it's not the best run out to continue your bluff, because a lot of your opponent's equity that called on the flop is going to continue calling here on the turn. So I actually really like that give up. But if the turn was like a 10, a jack, a king, or an ace, then I'd like to see him continue barreling at that. So that was very good discipline.
Early 60s.
Corey Weeks asks, are you going to the WPT at Choctaw? I do plan on it. Generally, there's 3 circuit stops a year and 1 WPT, and I love to play all 4 of those main events. So I believe next month or the month after is the WPT.
Moved me away at 1-year-old up to Syracuse, New York.
Were they, was your father in the
He was in
military?
the airline business.
Airline? Yeah. Matter of fact, we talked about that before.
Yeah. He was
Jack, ace 10 in the cutoff,
American back
and
then.
he will just call.
Yeah, and if Jack is going to be raising hands like 8 deuce on the button, I really think he should be raising these types of hands as well.
Sure.
Your opponents can still call with plenty of worse dominated hands, and you give yourself the maximum opportunity to win the pot.
I think last time he tried it, Greg had ace king as well, and Greg is finding ace king here in this big blind.
Yeah, and the blinds are actually also up again, so there's a lot more money in the pot. I'd like a large raise here from Greg. You don't want to play this hand multi-way. Does decide to raise and takes it down, and you can see all those limps now. Greg earned quite a few big blinds just by taking it down pre-flop, which is quite the big win.
That was fun.
Picks up at least 3 big blinds, saves his ante. A heck of a coupon right there.
Back in the 60s.
Absolutely, and his big blind ante and personal ante are not his anymore, so he actually takes down 5 big blinds total, which is huge for this point in the tournament.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tropicana or whatever. What was that guy down there who they tried to say he the one who commissioned Kennedy?
Am I at 125?
Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry.
Just about to tell you. Cheater.
Greg deciding what to do here with this junk hand and the small blind.
I'll give it.
And you know what? I don't mind that. I think this is again one of those spots being the offsuit variety where he should either come in for a raise against the small stack or just fold. I think if he had a suited junk hand like 10-3 suited, then he can go for the limp. Because now you're going to flop a lot better and be able to play post-flop more often.
I'd tell a story
so I do like the discipline lay down there.
About my time in New Orleans.
The only other argument is the fact that Travis is so short, he can put a lot of pressure on him by opening up. Blind versus blind play can get very complicated, especially with all the varying stack sizes. If you're going to play tournaments seriously, I think that's the first setup that you really need to learn is blind versus blind, as when the money gets really big towards the end, that's where you're going to really be earning your win rate. The other formation that you want to learn is the button versus blinds, as that's another very common one where it folds around to the button, who will open a lot of hands, and then the big blind is going to have to call or raise really wide. So those late position formations against the blinds are probably the most valuable for the tournament player.
Yeah, you'll see the most successful tournament players
So 1 week, I'll tell.
know
1
their
weekend
lines
we
in
were
between the
down
cutoff
there.
and the
I
big
was
blind.
probably-
They
Just couldn't handle it.
know how to
I'm trying to
handle
think, I
most
was
all that
probably
stuff and are able to
8 or
take
9
advantage of those
at the time,
positions.
something like that. And we'd been down in the French Quarter at Cafe
So there's a look at our chip stack. Still 5-handed here. Travis
And
up to
we
3.78.
were walking down.
Still plenty of blinds there. Blinds are up now, 250,000.
What's the main?
Yeah, other than Travis, everybody has a very healthy stack, but even Travis has plenty to work with. Doesn't have to get too out of line.
Bourbon Street.
I think if he is going to enter the pot, he should start doing it for a raise.
my parents turned around and I was gone.
Oh.
So they're kind of freaking out.
All right, RJ's going to walk out for just a
walking
minute here.
around looking for me, and come to find out,
5 1/4.
I'm looking inside one of the bars at these topless
You know,
women
as it's
dancing on
interesting
the
too,
bar.
as we expected play to slow down, we've been playing
Well, it
five-handed
wasn't
probably for
necessarily a
just as long as
gentleman's
the rest of the
club.
tournament
It was just a
combined at this
bar.
point. And
Tractor beam.
the players are very
Yeah.
incentivized
Well, I mean,
to ladder
I
up at
was
this
just
point, so
amazed at
it doesn't surprise me
hassle.
that people are being very cautious.
That was easy raise for you right there. Since he was trying to, that was easy raise.
We've
for
definitely
you.
noticed
Since he was
both
already
Greg
trying
and
to
Jack
throw the big
trying to
line
get after it a little
realized
bit
the
and
big
take
line,
down
he
the
tried to
orphan
chunk it.
pots.
Oh, I
Yeah.
He tried to chunk it before then he's Johnny saved it. So
Travis
that'd
with
been easy
a
raise,
much
but
needed
then he took
premium here
ours.
with Ace
Yeah,
King,
he
comes
took
in for a
ours.
raise.
575 is the
Oh, that's funny.
folds.
That's got like Travis's hand last night.
No.
Calls 5.
I think Nate has a nice defend here with the 9-6 suited. Hand flops very well. You're going to have a lot of clarity on
He's
most
trying
flops,
to intimidate us.
Heads up. Action.
and you're getting a good price to call.
All in.
God bless.
I heard it. All the marbles.
And Nate just open rips into Travis's preflop raise. That can be very dangerous, but I believe that he thinks he has the best hand now with the 3-heart board and doesn't want to see any turn cards. So just decides to put the maximum pressure on and go for the open jam.
So I assume the stream's still going. We didn't get shut down for that risque story.
One of the risky parts about that is Travis has been pretty tight with his opens, so if he's got a hand like Ace of Hearts Queen or Ace of Hearts King, he can still call there and actually be a really big favorite against just a pair.
5 1/4.
5.
But he doesn't have any hearts, and he is able to take it down.
I'll let you have it.
I'll kindly take it.
See how you do that?
Ron's been playing very well as well, just opening the hands that he does play, and that just goes to show you the power of aggression. Doesn't let his opponents see a flop for free and takes down 2.5 bigs. Yeah, really rough spot there for Travis. It can definitely be disheartening when you're short, you've been having some rough situations, you finally wake up with a premium like Ace King, and then you still end up having to fold the flop. But he did show a lot of good discipline, and let's see if he can keep his head on straight and play good moving forward. Nate raises, takes it on the button with Ace-4, standard open.
How's y'all's bladders?
Goes for a large sizing. It's definitely going to be a little bit harder for the blinds to defend against the almost 3x open.
Hey, don't get that gun out of the trunk.
Y'all didn't wear diapers?
We haven't done anything wrong.
No, it ain't. Yeah, I gotta run to the car and take care of some personal business real quick. And it's not the bathroom, obviously.
Action is online.
Nice, snap fold.
Nate has had 7 deuce, like at least 5 times at this point. So at least he's got easy decisions there.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, we can.
Greg with a nice open here on the button with the King Jack offsuit.
They're fine.
He'll let him know.
They're fine right now. Or he's over there.
He just walked by.
Okay. He's talking.
Yeah, he's talking to him.
Seems like the standard open here at this table is just over
He
2x.
said something about Nate not controlling his bladder. I can't remember.
It ain't a problem.
Just hold up, guys. I haven't received the answer yet. Okay.
And I expect Jack to defend here very wide. Does defend the 7-5.
Here he is, right behind you.
Had a lot of monotone flops here today as well. Very complex and difficult to play. Interesting spot here for Greg in position. He does have top pair, but he has no clubs. So I wouldn't mind either a check back or a small c-bet here and try to protect his equity against a small club. And with Jack having middle pair and the flush draw, he's definitely not going to go anywhere. Greg might now think he's got a club in his hand, so he might go for another bet here, trying to deny equity from those single club holdings. He is very likely to have the best hand here, so I don't mind a bet. Another very small sizing, keeping Jack having to call very wide here. And it's a very safe run out here. I'll be surprised if Greg goes for value or not. Definitely a close spot. I would love to go for value. Your opponent might think you have a missed club draw and call with a hand like 7. Does decide to check back, which is completely reasonable as well.
God, he had a king. I needed that club.
Well played by Greg. Picks up a nice pot there. And Greg has been silently chipping up here and is quite dangerous himself. He has been very aggressive. I could definitely see Greg coming back to win this himself. Welcome back, RJ.
Hey, thank you. Welcome back. Let's see. While we're in a quick timeout here, they're going to, looks like, possibly change the deck and move some chips around. Good time to remind everyone. TCH Madness coming to us from Texas Card House, Rio Grande Valley. Our friends down south, all kinds of high hands. Morning Mystery high hands, Late Night Madness high hands, Hold'em high hands, Madness Omaha high hands. It's all hard to say. High hands all day. The daily double. Second high hand pays double. That's coming to you from Texas Card House, Rio Grande Valley. Good excuse to go down south, hang out, play some cards. Great place.
Absolutely. That's just outside of Houston, right?
Rio Grande Valley is the one way down south by Padre.
Oh, okay.
So this one is... And then, of course, we have 2 in Houston, which one of those in Houston is hosting the Poker Atlas Tour coming up April 10th through the 22nd. They will have 16 events, over $1 million in guarantees. That is the Houston location off of Westheimer.
Gotcha. And Poker Atlas Tour just ran a tournament here in Dallas with $1 million guaranteed for the main event. Really fun tournament. Had over 80,000 to first. So plenty of chances to build your bankroll here in Dallas.
Yeah, that was a great tournament. That was the one I actually had an opportunity to play in. Made a decent little run, had a ball, finished 50-something, 51st, I think.
Yeah, very nice.
I saw you a little bit off and on that day. So, yeah, we had a good time. Don't forget, all these ladies hanging out in the chat. Thursday night is your night right here at Texas Card House Dallas. Buy 2 hours, get 2 hours free. And that will be 5 p.m. to midnight. That is Thursday night for the ladies, Texas Card House Dallas location. One more promo as the table's still in a timeout. Industry night. Join us for exclusive offers. Buy 2, get 2 hours free, 5 to midnight. Industry night will be Monday. So that is Texas Card House Dallas location as well. Monday night, Industry night. Thursday night for the ladies. Complimentary pizza and beer on Industry night while supplies last.
You've got me at complimentary pizza and beer.
Indeed. Show me the pizza and beer.
So it looks like they're coloring up and taking a little break. I wonder if the blinds are going up now to 150-300.
We can check on our friends here in the chat as well.
Your stacks are all short,
What's going on, chat? We've got some dead time. I know they've definitely been spending a lot of time visiting with each other, talking about the cash games coming up this week in Dallas and Las Colinas.
Two, 5, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
So it looks like we'll be bringing in a new chip.
Makes you feel like you have more
New chip to the game. Still 400 viewers. Thank you guys so very much. Make sure you're clicking subscribe for TCH Live. You don't want to miss out on anything TCH Live is shooting at you. And make sure we click that like button as well. Of course, that helps keep the stream out and available for everyone.
Yeah, and if you guys like to play cash and watch cash as well, tomorrow we are doing an employee live stream. Our dealer Johnny, who is in the box right now, is going to be playing. So if you want to see him punt some chips,
He will punt the chips. He
absolutely.
will be ornery. He will keep it stirred up. He has a good time.
Yeah, we're going to play a 1-2-5 round of each tomorrow, but whenever that game gets going, I expect many straddles. It'll probably play very big. Mallory should be in the game as well. Come join us tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, or I'm sorry, 6 o'clock on YouTube, 6 o'clock Central.
Eric Van Loosen, we are 100%. We are 100% responsible for him not going to the gym right now.
Well, hey, we got this short break while these players are coloring up. So use the restroom, get some food, and do some push-ups.
You're already jacked and tan. Do a little push-ups. You're good to go.
That's almost 2 days in a row. I almost had him.
And so, talking earlier about how important it is to be able to stay focused through a long grind. One thing you'll realize is a lot of the top tournament players these days are in tip-top shape. They're focusing on their gym routines, on eating well. That's something that I've kind of let go a little bit. I'm actually trying to hit the gym again, get back in shape, and hopefully that'll help my tournament results.
Well, you'll be as jacked and tan as Eric Van Loosen here.
That's my goal.
Before long.
That's my goal. And then those late night levels, I'll be able to put in a little bit more focus.
Yeah, it's definitely no secret. You play better when you're feeling better, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think having a plan for these long tournament days, what are you going to eat? Having some healthy snack options. I think that kind of stuff is really underrated. So just something to think about when you go to your next tournament.
Yeah, definitely keeps your psyche involved. The better you're feeling and the more full your belly is.
And it looks like the players here are getting back into the action.
I don't know if mine's on. Is it both lights on top when it's on?
Yeah, the lights.
All right, cards are in the air. We are back underway. Blinds are still 250,000. So 125, 250, and 250 on the big blind ante. Travis finding an ace-9 here on his button here. He will rip it.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty standard jam off of 10 bigs on the button. Really nice hand to wake up with here. And Ron has a very close spot with the king-8. Does decide to fold.
And how about ace-10 going away there in the small blind?
I missed that one. That's a tough spot, but I guess he thinks Travis has been pretty tight. I'm probably calling there, but I guess you don't want to having the chip leader behind you with a big stack, not closing the action can be a little dangerous. Try not to take any close spots, but I think ace-10 is good enough where you're going to have your opponent dominated quite a bit. They're going to be jamming hands like king-10, ace-9, etc., where you're in pretty good shape there. And even if they have a premium hand like 9s, 8s, you're still a coin flip.
Well, Jack rewarded here. Now he picks up ace-jack clubs on the button.
And if you're going to play a lot of these tournaments, I think it is very important to learn your small stack jamming and calling ranges for spots like these. So you're not really that lost when you have these close in-between spots and you know whether you should be calling or folding. Obviously, your opponents matters as well. Some people are too tight or too loose. And so you need to adjust appropriately based on that.
We're good. 250.
Everyone's staying out of Jack's way. He takes it down.
Calls.
Jack finds pocket 5s this time, enough to call the 250,000.
Yeah, it does decide to call. Again, if he's a little bit deeper, there's more incentive for that. But if he's just going to call, he's going to need to hit a hand to be able to win the pot. And with how shallow everybody is at this stage of the tournament, you really want to be coming in for an open to give yourself the maximum opportunity to win the hand.
Big flop here for Greg as he's landed top pair and a flush draw with his jack-deuce of clubs.
Yeah, and if he opened pre-flop, he would have had a chance to get Greg out of the pot. But at this point, he basically just gives away a big blind. for free and allows his opponents to realize their equity.
So yeah, Greg now picks up 90% of the equity going into that turn, and now he's just going to win the pot.
Yeah, and Greg has been winning quite a few pots over here and is suddenly finding himself, he might even be the chip lead.
And that's kind of that same scenario we referred to earlier where when the chip leaders let Greg pick up equity like that, he's been making a killing on it.
Yeah, so you've seen Jack and Nate kind of slowly bleed these chips by limping, where if they did decide to come in for more raises, they'd likely be able to maintain their chip lead at this point.
So this time, Greg completes with the king 8.
I like it. It's a hand that's strong enough where you don't need a raise, and by just calling, you can keep your opponent in with a lot of dominated hands.
And Travis answers back with the all-in with his king high.
Tough spot here for Greg. Let's see if he finds the call. Based on how he's playing, I do expect him to fold. But if he does find the call, he's going to be in great shape here to knock Travis out.
2.950. 2,950,000 is the total bet.
So it's 2,900,000. So Travis still has enough to definitely make Greg think here.
Yeah, just about 12 bigs on the jam. Travis has been pretty tight with it, though, so I can understand here a fold. But it's definitely borderline. King 9 starts to become a call. King 10 definitely a call. So very tough spot there. Does decide to go with the fold.
There we go. Travis has found 2 jams. Not only did he pick up some chips, but he got better hands to fold both times. So he's making the most of it over there, kicking and scratching.
Yeah, and that's actually why I think King 8 there against a 12 big blind short stack is good enough to open jam. And that just goes to show you the power of aggression and initiative. He would have won that pot if he was the opener and just decided to put the pressure back onto Travis. But instead, Travis was able to turn it around on him because he just limped.
Chris Mays in the chat. Nice little shout out for Greg, our player in the 6th seat. One of the nicest people he knows. Class act. And his son Spencer, a class act as well.
Yeah, another really great spot here for Travis, finding the 3-bet jam against Ron. Takes it down, and just like that, he's back in the game. Takes down 2 pots in a row.
Flashes his ace there, but more importantly, happy to pick up back-to-back pots.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't mind just taking it down with no resistance there. Taking down those 2 big blind open plus the blinds is worth quite a bit.
So he has crawled his way back to 4.5 million, narrowing the gap in the entire field here as the big stacks have come down and the small stack has moved up. Travis on the button here with Jack 10 suited.
The marbles.
And we might have another one. Yes, he rips it again, 4.5 million this time. Ron will let go of his ace 3. The hat trick for Travis.
Yep, definitely has the momentum here. One of the nice things about jamming a hand like Jack 10 suited off of this stack size, a lot of the hands that are going to be calling you are not going to contain a 10 or a Jack in them. So you might get called by like ace queen, ace king, where you still have quite a bit of equity when called. Also pocket pairs where you're just a coin flip. And then obviously you're hoping to just take it down uncontested most of the time, which is a big win.
Yeah, and you hate getting called there and being the underdog, but at least you want to be able to get to that 37%, 40% equity when you are the dog, so you have a decent shot going in.
Yeah, and as long as you're taking it down uncontested enough, it makes it worth it in the long run. So I do like the jam there. All right, Travis is going to let somebody else win a pot.
Calls 550.
Here we go, and we could see some action here as Greg has opened it up with Queen Jack suited. Ron just calls with the ace king.
I think off a Ron stack size, he really wants to put on the aggression there pre-flop and come in for a 3-bet. Now his opponent's going to be able to take down the pot if he doesn't improve, which is going to be most of the time.
And we check the flop there. Greg would have c-bet. He might have been able to
Yeah, I would like to
Make
see a
some
c-bet
noise here.
here. One of the things with queen high is you're not going to be very good at showdown very often. So you really want to put the pressure on. And the fact that Ron just called and gave up shows the power of putting in the aggression there pre-flop. I would have liked to see Greg come in for a raise. And so he does fold the best hand again with ace-king.
So Travis with the ace under the gun. Another tweener here under the gun with a lot of action behind him.
Yeah, now that he's over 20 bigs, it starts to get a little bit dicier with a hand like a7. It's definitely too deep to just open jam, so I do like coming in for a min raise if he does enter the pot, and that's what he does.
So Greg with a playable hand sees 10-9 offsuit. He'll complete, and we'll go to the flop. Ace, king, 6. Very much in the range of the raiser in this spot usually.
Yeah, this is going to be a board where as the under the gun opener, you're going to want to probably c-bet your entire range, whether you hit it or not. The big blind defender is going to have a lot of junk hands that completely miss this flop. Greg has been pretty tricky and aggressive, though, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him make a move at some point, but does get out of the way. I do prefer a fold there. And Travis is showing that he's got some chops and is not giving up. Just like that, he's back over 25 bigs.
Yeah, so Travis and Ron both in the 6 million range. Jack, 9 million. Nate and Greg. Greg now officially the chip leader, over 11 million.
Yeah, and you can see that the player stack sizes has contracted quite a bit. So it's really anybody's game. Any double up now will make somebody the chip leader. And when that's the case, sometimes whoever can be the most aggressive can start to pull away.
Starts to turn into almost a little bit of a bubble scenario where you're able to start putting a little bit of pressure on all those stacks.
Absolutely. Jack again with the smooth call with the big ace suited. He's definitely like to mix up his play, keep his opponents guessing. If he can hit a big hand like an ace, it could work out for him.
Ace with a diamond.
Wow, this is going to be an interesting flop. All three players have hit a piece of this. I expect a big pot now.
So Travis will lead out with his 10 high flush draw.
Yeah, if a diamond comes, Travis is going to be in real big trouble here. He thinks he likes this flop, but very dangerous. Six might slow down everybody a little bit multi-way here. But I think Jack is obviously still going to like his hand, having top pair, strong kicker with a nut flush draw. And then Travis gains a little bit more equity with the gut shot straight draw as well. So he might continue his bluff here, thinking he needs to bluff it to be able to win before showdown.
And this is really the first time where Jack's limp will be confusing to the hand.
Yep, it's definitely going to be hard to put him on a premium such as ace-queen.
Travis went from squadouche equity to a smidge.
Yeah, let's see if Greg can make a very good fold here. If he's heads up, I would expect him to continue. But even if one of your opponents is on a draw, the fact that you're against two, it gets a little trickier, and I'd like to see a fold here. Let the other two players go at it.
What would Greg recognize here by position? He's got the big blind leading out and the under the gun limper still calling.
Absolutely. So, you got to think, what kind of hands does the under the gun player have here that we're doing well against? And then even if we are ahead, clearly our opponent, at least one of our opponents, is going to have a lot of equity against a hand like ace-8. So I really like that fold. Great play, Greg, getting out of the way. He's going to be happy when he sees that one later. And lucky for Travis here that he misses it.
Pairing the board, causing all sorts of check scenarios.
Yeah, and Travis does decide to give up.
Come on, diamond.
He'll be happy to
Yeah,
see
diamond draw.
no diamond coming.
Yeah, and both players get to see the scenario there a little bit. One celebrating no diamond, one
You call 0 bets on
saying I could have used it.
Yeah, and I've been happy to see the players giving up on river bluffs when they miss their flush draws. I think that is an over bluffed spot because once again, you want your opponents to have those diamonds. So a lot of the hands that your opponents are going to go call, fold against your aggression, you're blocking those hands. So I really like the give up there.
And it's so hard to bet enough to actually pull it off.
Exactly. So if you are going to go for it, you really need to use large sizings. And it seems like a lot of these players have been going for mostly value sizings. And
30,
smalls.
40% bluff.
Absolutely.
Oftentimes it's pot odds times 0, which is the hardest bet to figure out.
Oh, here we go.
7.5.
It's been a while since we've seen aces.
They're back. Yeah, we really haven't had a lot of big pairs since that first 30, 40 minutes where there was big pairs everywhere. So 455 viewers. Thank you guys so much. We're hanging in there. These players are hanging in there. We're 5-handed. The stacks are coming together now. The big stacks are getting smaller and the small stacks are getting bigger. So we'll see some more play here.
Yeah, I think we've been 5-handed for almost 2 full levels at this point. They'll catch up to these players eventually. Everybody's proceeding with caution.
There we go. Under the gun, suited Jack 10. And Nate likes to open it up. He's been a little more wise with his opens. And he is flopped open-ended.
Yeah, Jack does decide to just go with the call in the small blind here. Ace-5 suited doesn't flop super well, but it has a lot of really good properties to turning your hand into aggression. So I would like to see a 3-bet there. One of the arguments against it is that both him and Nate are very big stacks. So he is risking a lot in real money ladders by putting too much money into the pot. But that being said, Ace-5 suited does block your opponent's strongest hands. And then when you do have the initiative, you have a lot of different types of flops and runouts that you can win the pot on various bluffs.
So Travis will raise it up with his ace, ace-7 off. No resistance behind him, so he'll take it down. Jack, Nate, Travis, Greg, and Ron, our final 5. More than 1,400 entries in this bad boy. The final 5 players.
Yeah, these players played 2 full days of poker before this and then a long, grueling final table for big money. It's definitely not easy. A lot of tough decisions, especially playing shorthanded. You're going to have to play a lot of mediocre, middling types of hands. And so being able to hand read goes quite a long way at this stage of the tournament.
So we haven't had an elimination in quite a while, so we'll show this prize pool again to see exactly what these 5 players are hanging in there for. Guaranteed $14,000 now from this $300 buy-in, all the way up to $56,500 up top.
Yeah, and you can see how big these jumps are starting to get, so it makes a lot of sense that the players are being a little more cautious and really making sure they want to enter the pot before they put in too much money.
So Jack, a spot that he's been familiar with, under the gun with a very playable hand, ace-8 suited.
Yeah, and it seems like he's been limping some of his stronger aces, and the ones that don't flop quite as well, he is deciding to raise with. Definitely keeping his opponents a little off kilter, and it seems to be working out pretty well for him. Greg does decide to call here on the small blind with the ace-5 offsuit. I think that's a little bit dangerous because of how poorly this hand flops and the ability to make a second best hand. So I prefer either just folding or 3-betting here on the small blind. I think if he's in the big blind, it becomes a better defend. But you can see right here, he could easily get himself into a little bit of trouble.
So Travis wishing he might have bet that flop, but he actually lands 2 pair on the river after the ace scared him on the turn.
Yeah, all 3 players here with a pretty strong hand. Let's see if Travis goes for a little bit of value. Still a scary board, but I think we're strong enough here to go for value. We also have the jack of spades.
So 1.7 in the pot. Let's see what he'll go with here.
1.1 is the total bet.
1.1.
Yeah, it goes for about 2/3 pot.
There, calls.
I think you definitely don't want to go too big to try to get calls from ace-x type hands. Let's see if Greg can make another good laydown after a bet and a call. If Jack did fold, I expect Greg to call here, but it's going to be really hard to be good against 2 opponents. Let's see if he gets real sick and turns his hand into a bluff here. I'd prefer that over a call, but I think folding here is the standard play. Greg's had a lot of tough spots tonight.
Yeah, these 3 have been in familiar spots here.
Yeah, but he's made a lot of good decisions. So I think this one's definitely tough. Let's see if he can come to the right decision again. He's been doing it so far. Made a great laydown before with the ace. And he does it again. Great fold, Greg.
Jackson 9.
Oh my God, I'll let you get there.
Yeah, indeed. Check that ace on the turn.
And you can hear Jack get mad at himself for letting his opponent get there. I think Jack's been checking pretty quickly here with a lot of these top pair type holdings. I think he should, think about the hand a little bit more and decide whether or not he wants to put in a bet and why. Definitely don't act too quick. There's a lot of big money that these guys are playing for.
Yeah, the action on that turn went very quickly. All 3 players check, check, check.
Don't be afraid to think through your decisions. Don't take forever, obviously. We don't like tankers, but give yourself a chance to analyze the situation and realize that maybe you should be putting in some bets.
I think sometimes I'm guilty of that too. In that exact sscenario where you hit that card on the turn and you're like, oh, got it, and check. Oh, did I say check already?
Yeah, we're all guilty of that. So this is a very tough game. Definitely not criticizing anyone. Just some stuff to think about when you're in your next tournament, especially after you've been playing a really long time and your brain might not be working at full capacity anymore.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did that part right then.
Yeah, generally the longer the tournament goes, especially the last levels of the evening, I try to really think through my decisions a little bit more because I know that I'm more likely to make a big punt or a big error when the stakes are very high. So don't be afraid, especially now that they're in the final 5, to analyze the situation.
So Greg's here in the cutoff with ace-jack.
Raise 600 is a total bet.
Been making a lot of good decisions so far with a lot of second best hands. Picks up a premium here.
So he will make it 600,000. It looks like that new yellow disc chip there is
$500,000.
going to be worth 500,000.
Yeah. I think Travis is a little short here to be set mining with a hand like deuces on the button. I think if he was in the blinds and got a better price, that's one thing. But I prefer just folding here with the pocket deuces. This is a hand that plays better earlier in the tournament when you're closer to 100 big blinds deep and you have the odds to hit a set. Now he's in a spot where the board's pretty disconnected and he might think he's good, but you just don't have any clarity on where you're at with the hand, especially multi-way, so you just have to give it up.
Heads up to the turn.
And of course, Ron has landed middle pair, so you don't want to be folding pairs all day, so he'll continue.
Yeah, I think short-handed here, you can't really be folding any pairs on this board. Your opponent's going to have a lot of missed overcard type hands, flush draws, straight draws, etc. But Greg does have a premium, does bet again, and Ron makes a good fold.
So we have now made it through 90 hands of this final table, still 5-handed.
Yeah, we've been playing 5-handed for probably about at least an hour and a half now. Nobody's budging. I expect once the next player goes out and the blinds go up again, the last few will probably speed up quite a bit as players now are guaranteed a large payday and can start to go for the win.
600.
So Travis has chipped all the way up more than 6 million now. He'll raise it up with the suited ace-6.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of ace-x hands, opening and taking him down. And it just goes to show you the power of raising instead of limping, that he's been able to allow himself to win these free chips without any contest.
He's made some hay with those ace-high holdings pre-flop.
So yeah, if he just limps there, then his opponents can see a flop, and now he's going to have to check fold a lot, or his opponents could hit a hand. So I really like the way that he's playing these cards.
$600 is now the bet.
So now he'll see a suited jack-8.
Yeah, and I think he's recognizing that his opponents have been pretty tight and passive. So Travis is going to try to open up a little bit and see if he can win some free chips. Jack has been calling with a lot of these hands that are suited and connected, that flop really well. So I do expect him to continue here with the Queen 10 suited.
It has been interesting that every time Travis gets enough chips to open it up a little bit, Jack's right behind him with a hand like this.
700 is the bet.
Yeah, and again, I think if Travis wanted to continue in this hand, he should have done it through a C-bet. Your opponent's going to miss on Queen 6-3 Rainbow very often. So you can start getting them to fold king-high hands, jack-high hands that are ahead of you.
So you're almost just conceding at that point already.
Yeah, and if you are going to concede, that's fine as well. I just I want to make sure that if you are going to put money in, you're going to do it as the aggressor there. And it just so happened that was really good timing as his opponent did hit top pair, so he does lose the minimum. Basically trying to take it down pre-flop or hit a hand, play it straightforward.
Well, you're right. Actions here.
So Jack enjoying this moment to stack some chips. He will look down at a suited King 10. I know he will.
Oh,
there
yeah.
it is.
He's definitely coming back into the pot. Curious to see if he goes for a raise or a call.
Raise. 500 is a little bet.
I do like the raise. I think the calling hasn't been working for him that well tonight, except for the ace-queen suited hand.
Of course he does. Why would he?
Ooh, interesting spot here. All three players with strong suited kings. And these players have definitely been preferring to see flops over the pre-flop aggression. I don't think we've had very many pre-flop 3-bets. So if any players are willing to go out on a limb and start 3-betting pre, I think you can win a lot of chips that way. So far, the only 3-bets have been with super premium hands like aces.
Okay, and we've landed some action as Greg and Jack will both flop pairs.
Same with Travis, but it's a bottom pair here. One of the nice qualities about defending 5-4, I don't think I would do it multi-way here, but one of the nice things about it is it's going to not really interact with your opponent's range very often. So when you do hit, you don't have to really worry about being dominated very often. But yeah, Greg and Jack both with strong hands here.
A club on the turn. The King 8 of clubs folded there on the flop.
Yeah. Check. 800.
So now you can see Jack very quickly pouncing on the check here by Greg. I like a check call here from Greg. It was 4-way to the flop, so both opponents' hands are going to be very strong at this point. I think Jack probably wants to defend against some draw equity. He assumes that Greg is going to continue with his Queen X holdings.
And Greg will check raise here on the turn. He has bumped it up 2 million more.
And you really love to see it. We haven't seen too much of this, check raise type of play at the final table. I think this is a great way to earn a lot of chips, be tricky and tough to play against as well.
Yeah, our first good check raise of the evening puts Jack into a little bit of a tank here. Wants to think this one through.
Yeah, and Jack is definitely confused. I think that he would have assumed that Greg would have continued betting with his Queen X holdings. So maybe he's putting him on a hand like King Jack or Jack 9 or maybe even clubs. The problem is he's got a king in his hand, which blocks your opponent from having the King Jack. He has no clubs, though, so his opponent could easily have a hand like clubs. But I do think the fact that 4 people saw the flop, it's probably best to just get out of the way.
So there's a look at our player stacks. Ron now the low man at 4.47. Travis up to 5.8. Jack 8.2. Nate 10. And Greg nearly 14 million. So they're still narrowing the gap a little bit.
Yeah, and you can see Greg there with that pot. He has been the trickiest of the players and very aggressive, and he's earning himself some extra chips here through that creative line.
Hand 94. These blinds are getting pretty juicy. We're playing 125, 250.
Yeah, Ron off of 18 bigs. Probably a little too deep there to jam. I think this hand would play well as a 2x open. One of the issues with jamming a hand like that is when your opponents call, we're going to be in really bad shape. But if we just open to 2x, our opponents are going to defend the big blind with hands like 10-Jack, 10-9, Queen-9, other hands that we dominate, where now we can actually win a really big pot if we do hit a favorable flop.
I think we talked a little bit about that last time, and sometimes players are just too anxious to race off. And when you still have plenty of chips to build, when you can play to build, they're in a good scenario here where the structure is built perfectly and you can play to build your stack and you don't necessarily have to race it off.
Absolutely, and I think it's been tough too. Ron has run into it quite a bit lately, so maybe he feels like he's getting a little anxious, a little short, and forcing the action a little bit. But like you said, these big tournaments have really good structures, and I think patience goes a long way.
Yeah, CJ giving Greg a little shout out there. Greg's had the best reads tonight. He has been on point.
Yeah, Greg's had a lot of tough spots where he's made the correct decision. So I definitely agree with that. There's a reason why he is the chip leader now. Let's see if he can kind of put a little bit of pressure on these guys now that he's pulling away a little bit and leverage the small stacks against one another, as they're all going to try to outlast one another. So I'd like to see him start opening a little bit wider.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, he would definitely open with this one as he looks down at ace-queen.
Yeah, this one's a no-brainer now that he's got a premium. Ooh, and Travis here could be in trouble here. This might be, he might end up 3-bet jamming this one.
Call 7.
Does go for the call. I think in position, the suited variety of king-queen plays very well. It flops well. So I do like a call here. I think a jam is also completely reasonable. Just so happens he's dominated.
10-10 fort. Pairing the board. Good spot for Greg to continue.
Yeah, I'd like to see Greg here continue as the chip lead. He can put a lot of pressure on Travis being a short stack. And he could even get worse hands to call, like ace jack, ace 9. And then he starts putting Travis's low pocket pairs in a difficult spot where he has a chance to win on a lot of runouts with future bluffs. So really well played, Greg, and he continues to pull away. And the fact that Ron and Travis here are very close as small stacks, I'd like to see Greg continue pedal to the metal here.
Fold, fold.
And Nate's cards have really quieted down a little bit there in the 4 seat. He's just been kind of chilling, but which is not terrible at the final table sometimes, but nobody's busting around him.
Absolutely, and that's, like you said, it's not terrible because folding earns you real dollars. And I really like the call here with the suited variety of the king 3. this hand's going to flop very well. It has good high card value, blind versus blind. And both players hit a very good piece of that for a limped pot, so I do expect some chips to go into the pot here. And I really like playing this through the check call, be very deceptive. Let your opponent put in money with his bluffs. And now that he checks back, I would like to see a value bet here from Nate.
625.
So a value bet indeed, very quick one. Looks like he's bet 625,000.
Yeah, and the players have acted very quickly tonight. I think you want to think about what kind of hands your opponents have. So they're going to have a lot of misdraw type hands, like diamonds, or a hand like 10 jack, or a hand like a queen X. And I think against those types of hands, you want to go a little bit bigger to get value from your opponent's value, because they're just going to fold all their missed diamonds anyway. And they have no reason to think that you're going to have a king. They'll put you on a lot of misdraws yourself. So I like a 2/3 pot size bet there. But he does take it down with a blocker bet as well.
That's the scenario where you can open it up just a little bit on that river, go for a little bigger value.
Absolutely. I think sizing becomes very important at these points. That's how you earn those extra chips. So you want to think about what types of hands your opponents have.
So blinds now 150, 300,000, and Ron has shipped it with Queen Jack suited. He is in the cutoff? Yes, he's in the cutoff.
Yeah, so he's been deciding to go for the jam a little bit more, as him seeing flops hasn't been working out for him recently. He's going to get Travis to fold a better hand.
As good as you are on those races, I mean, that was probably snap.
You can consider that part.
I haven't seen you lose one yet in 2A.
You ain't joking, especially when your term of life is at stake.
Yeah, every time.
That's funny. The players are talking about running well in their flips and races, but all 5 of these guys have probably been running pretty good in their flips to still be alive at this point.
Yes.
Not easy to beat 1,400 other opponents.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to realize as we watch it. These players have absolutely played through a marathon to get here.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure they've all played very well.
The marbles.
Ron, back-to-back hands. He gets to go all in again, but this time it's with a monster queens.
Yeah, jamming 20 bigs here. I think you can get a little bit more value. Now that he's a little bit deeper, to open 2x and try to see some flops and get your opponents in there with a wider range. Does decide to keep the pressure on, though, and is continuing to win pots up to 22 bigs. Pulls himself away from Travis a little bit, which is nice for him.
Yeah, 2 in a row there for Ron.
Actions on Nate. Folds.
So Greg finds him in a nice spot here. King Jack in the cutoff. He'll get to bump it up.
Yeah, gets to keep the pressure on. I'd love to see a jam here from Travis with the ace-4 suited off of 14 big blinds.
Ace-4 suited on the button, and the rip happened.
Yeah, Greg's going to be opening up a lot of hands at this point, and ace-4 suited is going to be a favorite against a lot of those hands. He is starting to get short, so he's going to be the first to be forced to gamble. And this is a tough spot here for Greg, very close.
4.1, 4.25. 4.25 is a total bet.
Yeah, so it's going to be just about 12 more bigs to call after putting in 2. He's getting a decent price, but Travis has been pretty tight with these 3-bet jams, so it is a close spot. He should expect to be behind a lot, but as long as he's not dominated, it's not that bad of a spot. Also, if he does call and knock Travis out, not only are they all going to get a pay jump, but now Greg will be a dominant chip leader going into the final 4 and will really be able to push his opponents around. So the future game equity is important as well. But at the flip side of that, if you double Travis up, now you're in a much more difficult spot, and the field gets a lot tighter again.
Yeah, 4.2 million to call there. Travis still has enough to be dangerous in that spot.
Yeah, I think based on how Travis has been playing, I do like the fold there against the button jam. If he jam maybe from like the big blind against the button, it's a little bit closer. But I think you're going to be dominated enough where you do want to fold the king jack even for 12 big blinds more. So Greg with another great play, really playing above the rim so far. Love to see it. Yeah, I agree, Bill. I think in the end, the fold is the better play there. A little bit closer than it appears, but I do agree. It's a good fold.
So Travis raises it up with queen 9 suited, and he will get resistance from Nate. Nate re-raises with ace jack.
Yeah, Nate's been pretty card dead. He's been playing aggressively when he does get good hands, but just kind of playing it straightforward at this point, which is not a bad strategy for his stack size. Doesn't want to put himself needlessly at risk.
Mr. Bill, good to see you in the chat.
You can see that trophy there in the bottom left next to Greg. He's keeping it close to him.
Fold. Folds.
Very tough spot here for Nate too, having the chip leader directly on your left for these blind versus blind battles. But he is navigating very well with small bets and raises. Takes it down.
Not yet.
So yeah, you're going to need some holdings there to pick on the chip leader.
Unless you're putting it in blind.
I'm just get ahead of myself on the button. Brain fog, no sleep.
Yeah, and you just heard him say the brain fog factor, which is very common in tournaments. You know, we've all been at that point where we make a huge punt deep in a tournament, and that's what really sets the cream apart from everybody else. Being able to slow down, make those decisions, give yourself the best chance to win.
Folds option. Three players. Check. 8. Fold.
And the blinds are up again. So now we've got 150, 300,000 blinds. Gonna force the action a little bit more.
So 300,000 now to go. 5-handed, and that will cut into some stacks.
Thanks, Mallory. Drive safe. We appreciate you enjoying it. Wishing you good luck tomorrow if you're playing in the employee live stream game.
Yeah.
RJ, when are you going to get in that game?
I don't know. I haven't been invited yet, but
You ever played ROE, a little Omaha?
yeah, I enjoy Omaha. Yep, I sure do. And when I first moved down here, I was playing mostly all Omaha. Lately, I've been on a little bit of a Hold'em kick, but I'm actually happy. I like the fact that I still enjoy both and kind of go back and forth, and I'm cool with either.
I'm the same way. Sometimes I'm more of a Hold'em mood. Sometimes I'm more PLO. I was playing a lot of PLO before I moved to Texas, but then I kind of fell in love with tournaments, which took over my extra time. So for me right now, it's mostly cash games and tournaments for No Limit Hold'em, but I'd love to get back into PLO. It's a beautiful game, a lot of fun. Also can improve your Hold'em game.
So Travis found a spot to raise, but he got re-raised, so he is out of there.
Check.
We go to the flop.
Check.
Yeah, Travis's raising connectors have kind of ran bad in that they've always been up against dominant hands.
Check.
I think it's a little late here for Greg to start bluffing. I would like to see him do it on earlier streets. Now you're going to get called by a lot of ace-high holdings. I do like the give up at this point.
Tara Grantham, awesome in our chat tonight. She's saying good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your chat.
All right, Tara, thanks for coming out.
Still 481 viewers, so we are getting serious now watching this 5-handed tournament. There's our chip stacks.
Travis is the short stack off of 14 bigs. It's a really good rejamming stack. Still plenty to work with.
Nate's going to find some holdings here. Ace 10 under the gun.
Yes, sir.
Another tip for those of you trying to get into tournaments, as the blinds continue to go up and the average stack gets more and more shallow, you want to use smaller sizings when you do enter the pot.
2 million.
Raised to 2 million now.
And another cooler spot here. Greg with a 3-bet. Rare 3-bet at the table, so let's see if Nate can get away with it, as Greg has not been 3-betting very often. Good fold.
Yeah, good fold. Nate does it pretty quickly. Not even much to think about. His hand's in the muck.
And that just goes to show you why it's important to 3-bet with a wider range, because since we haven't seen much of it, it's pretty safe to assume your opponents have very strong hands when they do 3-bet at this point. And so I do like folding the ace-10 off, as you're basically going to be dominated by all of your opponent's ace-x holdings.
300 to call.
300 to call.
Folds. Raised to 800.
Yeah, Bill, I agree. It's a little risky open jamming off of 18 to 20 in these types of situations, as you have so much to lose when you do get called, especially with the hands they're doing it with that play very well and can be dominating your opponent's hands against a 2x open. But then when you open for 20 bigs, now you're going to start getting called where you're dominated.
Check.
Glad you're enjoying it, David.
1,200,000. Calls.
Kara, you got to have Johnny continue dealing with those aces and aces versus kings types hands if he wants to go home.
6 million.
All the players have been pretty card dead recently too, which is definitely making it harder to bust. But they're also all navigating very carefully, which is very reasonable.
Yeah, I love having Danny commentating. A lot of shout outs for Danny right now coming in through the chat. The lovely Mallory.
I don't.
Driving around in Oklahoma. She's listening to Danny's tips as well. And it's fun for me to sit here and poke Danny a little bit to make sure he gives you guys some cool tips.
Hey, you as well. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. You know, commentating is very difficult. It's very hard to think through and verbalize your thought process. So I do think it helps a lot. But we all have a ton to learn in this game. It's a very beautiful game that takes a minute to learn and a lifetime to master. So we're all having fun and learning along with y'all.
So here we actually have some players maybe going to this flop.
Yeah, going back to the limps now here for Travis. You know, he got raised the last time, so trying to mix it up a little bit.
Trying to sneak that limp in again. He got one through earlier. Let's see how this one goes.
You know, and this is the problem here with limping, is now you're going to be going multi-way with a hand that can easily flop a second best hand.
So some player.
It's going to be hard to get value now. So even though he flopped top pair, you're multi-way, and now you're just going to get yourself in a tricky situation here out of position.
With 3.9 behind, I still feel like he had enough to c-bet that flop a little bit.
Yeah, and you can honestly even just open rip that pre-flop off of 14 bigs. You don't really have many implied odds off of 14 big blinds. So I just don't think limping accomplishes very much in that spot. I'd rather either just put the aggression on, trying to take it down, or just fold pre.
Yeah, and it gets you stuck in that spot that he's stuck in right now so frequently.
Absolutely.
So there's our player stacks. 3.9 for Travis, Ron at 4.8, Jack at 6.7, and then Greg and Nate hanging out in the penthouse at 13 and 14 million.
Yeah, Travis and Ron are in the danger zone here. 13 bigs, and it looks like 16 bigs respectively. So, you know, one of them is going to have to gamble here shortly. Very strong hand to open on the button here. King Jack offsuit for Nate.
625.
625. 625.
Love to see him raising it. Put the pressure on the blinds, who are probably going to have to give it up. Travis doesn't have any chips behind to call here and try to speculate with a hand like 8-6.
Made it 625 with blinds 150, 300. That's a min click and a biscuit. Poker Rhino in the chat. Hello, friends. Love this poker table. Yes, that is the skyline of Dallas right there on the Texas Card House Dallas felt.
Yeah, beautiful tables here.
Very cool table.
+3.
So Nate does decide to go back to the limp. I wish he would have stuck to the raises. They've been working really well for him. This is a good way to leak chips back to the field. So I'd like to see him continue his aggression as the chip leader. One of the nice hands about a hand like Ace-4 suited is when you flop something like this, you have a lot of good barreling properties where even if your C-bet doesn't take it down, you can easily win the pot by the river. And now he's put himself into a situation where he can easily have second best hand.
He does pick up some equity here on this turn.
Very small sizing, just about one big blind here on the turn. I think you need to go a little bit bigger to try to give yourself a chance to give yourself some fold equity. I think these small sizes make it a little bit harder.
725.
And do you think the small sizing possibly gives away your hand a little bit? Does it look about like what he's holding?
I mean, it really just depends on your opponent. I don't have too much experience with these guys. But yeah, a lot of them, if they're playing straightforward, they might bet small, with a weaker hand or a draw. It does get the job done by the river there, but I think he's going to set himself up for more options with a larger turn size. One of the other benefits is he has a lot of outs to the nuts. And so when your opponent is strong, now you're building a bigger pot to win more on the river when you do get there. Or you can put in a bigger bluff on the river and just take down the pot.
And that's just trying to maximize the value of your equity.
Yeah, but sizings aside, I do really like his triple barrel there. So overall, very well played hand by Nate, and it just goes to show you why he's got the chip lead right now.
All right, we've got an all-in here. Travis will be at risk with his ace-8 versus the tens of Ron.
Yeah, runs into it here.
5-6 king, 2 hearts.
Need some hearts, running straight cards, or an ace. Just an ace now.
Queen of spades to turn. Only an ace will help Travis. No help. 3 of clubs, and that will eliminate Travis. That's our first elimination in quite a while. As these
Probably
guys,
over 2 hours.
These guys have been 5-handed for a hot minute.
Yeah, really good game, Travis. Tough run there, 5-handed, but you played well overall and take home a nice payday at $14,000.
Yeah, fun run for Travis there. He was a little bit swingy in that he was the only one that really experienced some ups and some downs so far today. And he will finish in 5th place, a $14,000 prize. Fantastic run for Mr. Travis.
Yeah, definitely gave himself a chance to win. The cards just didn't fall his way there at the end, 5-handed. And you definitely need to run well once you get down to short-handed play.
And he was our fantastic artist as well. So shout out to Travis
Absolutely.
Brassfield Art. Make sure you check out how talented that guy is because he's got some cool stuff. Good to see him popping around and having some fun here on the felt.
Very cool.
650 is the bet. 650.
All right, now that we're down to 4-handed, and one of the short stacks is the one who eliminated him, players are probably pretty close here, and it's anyone's game. A lot of money to play for.
Come when they come.
Everyone's guaranteed $19,000.
Huh?
19,000 now the guarantee.
Yeah, Nate and Greg are way out ahead, and even though Jack and Ron are the smaller stacks, both of them are still reasonably healthy. So any double up here will put them right back into the game.
Calling 3.
All right, and then there were 4, so we are now 4-handed.
Yeah, and so this is going to force players to open up their games a little bit. You're going to be in the blinds half of the hands at this point, and the blinds are very high, so you're going to have to play a lot more mediocre holdings, and this is where hand reading is going to come into play quite a bit. And I think Greg's been doing a great job of that.
4 and a call. 400.
Oof. Terrible run out here for the Queen Jack. I expect Jack to make a little bit of money here off of this set.
800.
Yeah, Nate's going to think he's got the best hand. Let's see if Jack can find a raise or just a call.
Queens and jacks. Settle
Just a call.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of, dangerous possibilities out there, but you also have to keep in mind that you are four-handed, so all hands go up in value.
It's like, good Lord.
Yeah, definitely an interesting spot there if you want to try to get more value or just chill with the scary board.
And whatever decision you end up making, again, he snap acted, so if he at least gives himself a chance to at least give himself an option for the raise and think it over. And so I'd like to see Jack, he's been playing great, but I think if he slowed down a little bit and thought over his decisions, he'd earn himself some extra chips as well.
Then you might eliminate some of those holdings that beat you. Does he have ace-10? Does he have 9-10? Could he have clubs?
Yeah, and maybe he'll still arrive at a call, but at least give himself the option.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
Go crazy.
I like that.
I haven't been doing that all the time, so
I definitely don't mind a call there. It's it's a dangerous spot. What are you really getting called by if you raise? It's going to be very hard to get called by worse. You're funneling your opponent's range into their strongest holdings. But again, it's just about the giving yourself that option.
It's easy for us to see that one of the few hands he could have got some value out of was the hand he played against. But yeah, you don't know that at the time.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe he even folded the Queen Jack there to a raise, so maybe it is just a call. But yeah, I'd like to see him think it over.
Option checks. Heads up.
Ooh, flops a straight.
Check.
Checking.
And Rana's middle pair. Expect a few bets to go in here.
I like flopping straights.
Yeah, makes it easy for sure.
Raise 1,400,000 and a fold.
Flop the nuts.
yeah.
I do like raising right away there if you're Jack. One of the nice things about flopping a straight like that is you unblock all of your opponent's pairs. So your opponent is going to have a lot more pairs when they're betting in that spot because you don't interact with the board at all. It just so happened that he had one of his weaker pairs with a bad kicker, and so he does end up getting away with it. But he's going to call there with his Queen X or Ace Jack type holdings, King Jack type holdings. So I do like the raise there.
Option. Checks. You need them to know who you are. Check. Betting 3 and a fold.
So yeah,
And once again, it's a lot easier for us in the booth and you out in the chat to know the right play when we can see all the cards. But these players, they only can see their own hands, and it's a lot tougher under the lights and the pressure. So they're doing the best that they can, and they're playing very well to survive past 1,400 people, and they're earning themselves quite the big payday.
Yeah, it's awesome. They're playing great, earning their way through this incredible large field, and they're playing well enough that we get to talk about it and learn from it.
Absolutely. I think this is a good example of a spot where I like the open raise here with the Queen 4 suited on the button, four-handed. You can't just sit around and wait for premiums. And then I'd like to see Greg kind of pounce on that and come in for a 3-bet here with the Ace Jack. Give himself maximum opportunity to win the hand. As the chip leader, he can put pressure on the short stack, and Ace Jack is just a great hand that's going to be in the lead most of the time. Now he's kind of conceding the pot. He's going to be out of position. You're going to have to hit a hand, which you're not going to do most of the time. And now I expect Ron to win the pot, where he would have lost the pot if Greg came in for a 3-bet.
So Greg feeling a little sticky here as he reaches for chips.
Yeah, let's see if Ron can find another barrel here if he misses.
Small board pairing river, and it goes check, check. Hi. So Greg will show off his ace-jack, take it down in a showdown.
Yeah, Ron does give up on the board pair. If there's any card to give up on, it is probably the river board pair on the 5.
Open-ended straight flush draws.
But I think a bluff there would be fine as well.
Never hit that hand. Never ever in my whole
Well played by Greg, showing that he has a really good feel for these players and where they're at, making difficult calls, difficult folds, and has usually been correct so far.
You can count.
All right, this time Ron has big slick, ace-king under the gun. He'll make it 600,000. That's a men click.
Nate calling with a speculative hand here on the button in position.
You'll see a flop for 2 blinds here with 10-8 of clubs. Ooh, hello.
Both
Jack.
players flop something. This could get in.
Jack of clubs, a 10 and an 8.
Heads up now.
So you can see Ron decided to go for the check call.
Naughty turn here.
600 now.
Yeah, he's probably going to get the full double now. But I think if you're going to do that, I think a C-bet there is fine as well. This is kind of a cooler situation. Great fold by Nate.
Yeah, the 4-liner kind of runs Nate off there. Any 9, Broadway, of course. So bottom 2 in a tough spot, and he doesn't even want to play it anymore. Just lets it go.
No, dude, it's a 4-liner out there. There's a 4-liner out there. I mean, as soon as you call me, I'm not betting anymore. And unless I hit the 10 or 8.
So you can hear Nate kind of refer to that as well. 4-liner, not a good spot for bottom 2.
Yep.
Nice
Nice discipline there from Nate, recognizing that he is not going to ever be good there, even though they're short-handed.
You wouldn't have gotten anything on the river because I got checked.
Around 8 million.
Heads up.
Check.
Check. Check.
Check.
Check. Check.
Thinking of a card. Check.
Queen.
Again, playing very fast, not even considering going for value there.
So these guys are playing fast, still battling it out as a lot of chips going back and forth, but no elimination. So we'll show this prize pool again. 56,500 up top. Still 4 players there, guaranteed 19-2 now.
Yeah, everybody's guaranteed a very good payday, so I'd like to see them open it up a little bit and start to go for the win.
The even bigger one, yes. This is a monthly tournament here at Texas Card House Dallas. You can play for that prize pool every month right here at TCH Dallas.
6 was. Or folding the call, excuse me. Hold up back, hold up.
What's the problem?
The button got moved. Like too much, so it's thinking it's in a different. Yeah, we're having to resurface that.
So what happens with this fancy table, it tries to recognize where the button is. So sometimes if the button moves around, they'll take a quick timeout there to straighten it out.
Yep. Johnny taking control of the table, making sure everything's set up correctly for the cameras.
You can see that's why the button stays close to those circles. Those circles actually read where the button is. And
this,
we have a hand.
Yeah, this could be ugly here. With Ron's stack size, I do expect Jack to come in for a re-raise here. And it would not surprise me if Ron ends up putting it in. Putting in the Hollywood here a little bit. Acting all upset.
A little bit of Hollywood with a big deep breath, and he's going to put some more out there.
1.925.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, the Hollywood might have gotten him away.
No, I wasn't eager. I was trying to figure out if I need to shove or just.
Yeah.
Yep, you can hear him. He said the
about it.
Hollywood. Yeah, I think
Hollywood.
you definitely want to be
I was trying to think if I
careful when
should
you're
just
trying
flat
to
right there
act
and
at the
see a
poker
flop,
table.
not
I
an
think a lot of
ace, or-
players can see
'cause
through
I really
that.
thought you were gonna do whatever if
Another
you had an ace,
thing
no
that kind of
matter
gives
what.
away his hand is he did come in for a limp and then raise. I think if he just raises, then Ron's going to come in for a 3-bet, and now you can get stacks in a lot more often.
That
So
or-
sometimes just playing your
that or
hand
if I was
straightforward
actually just thinking
is
about
actually going to end up
seeing a
being
flop and dodging
better
an ace.
value.
That's what I was actually
And then,
saying.
yeah, I definitely would recommend against Hollywooding unless you have a lot of experience with acting at the table. Most of these players have seen that type of maneuver before.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot.
But either way, it's still not easy to fold ace-queen in that spot, so really good fold there by Ron, recognizing for what it was and getting away, losing the minimum.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fun to hear them still talking a little bit about each other's actions there.
Yeah, and everyone in the chat, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, Hollywooding or putting out fake tells, reverse tells. Do you focus more on the live aspect of poker, trying to read people, or you focus more on your hands? Everybody has different experiences and thoughts on that kind of thing.
Put their term in the wrist. Put some.
And as a dealer for a couple of decades now, it's fun to kind of pick up on some things here and there. And one thing I'll share with the crowd is in the 1-2 streets, most oftentimes when the guy says, "Oh, is it on me?" or all of a sudden wakes up with, "Oh, I need to act in turn. Did he check? Is it on me?" type of thing. That guy's usually got a hand.
Oh yeah, they're extra focused on what's happening and acting a little bit aloof as a reverse tell.
Yeah. So interesting hand here as we get that all clubs flop. Ron able to take advantage of it here on the turn, take one down.
Yeah, and most of these players are playing pretty straightforward, honest poker at this point. So there is definitely room for someone to get a little bit out of line and try to take over the table. All 4 stacks are pretty close at this point.
Yeah, playing for a lot of money here four-handed, so sometimes they can find themselves piddling around, splashing around, trying to make hands while other people get eliminated, but not necessarily just going for the win just yet.
Yep, Bill puts out a great point. I think bet sizing is the biggest tell in most low-level games. I think in this modern poker era that we live in, I think understanding when and how to use different bet sizings is going to be one of the biggest things that you can do to set yourself apart from your opponents. And it's also going to be able to help you understand, how your opponents are playing. So if you can understand bet sizing and the why and the how, I think you'll add a lot of win rate to your game. So that's a great point.
800 is bet.
So a third spade here on the turn. Ron holding jack of spades, able to continue betting.
Yeah, both players flopping top pair here, short-handed, is going to be pretty strong. Ron with the backup flush draw. Oh, I guess the board was
Our
wrong.
graphics played a trick on us. How rude.
Either way, though, still a very strong hand with a top kicker. Goes for a value bet here. And Greg is in another tough spot here. The flush did complete on the river. There's actually only 3 spades on the board, so it would not be a terrible call. But him breaking flow and leading out on the river is representing the flush draw. Let's see if Greg can make another discipline laydown. This is his 3rd or 4th tough spot here with pair of aces where he made the correct fold.
Yep,
another great
nice
one.
fold. Yeah, 3 times he's had an ace that's no good, and he's found the fold button all 3 times.
He is not giving up chips easily. You love to see it. Greg's playing really, really well. I just like to see him keep up the aggression on the other pots when his opponents aren't showing much interest. Yeah, Mallory brings up another good point. You know, I think fake tells and angles are slightly different, but you also have to be aware that some players will throw out those angles as well to try to get you to do something. So that's why I like to default to playing my hand.
What? Ladies and gentlemen,
Inhabit,
Nate
brother.
Fold.
Inhabit, brother. I mean, y'all want to y'all want to look at a 4-way?
Yeah, I agree, Bill. Very impressive there by Greg. He's definitely impressed me the most so far at this final table.
Okay.
So I think there was a slight hint of looking at
No,
All it takes is
some
one.
money
All it
options.
takes is you.
Yeah, I imagine these players are all starting to get very fatigued. The chip stacks are very close. They're playing for so much money that
I think
sometimes.
Ron said, let's keep playing.
Oh, there you go. He wants to go for it.
Nice. So he's not ready to be
625.
brain foggy, chopped up yet.
Yeah. Yeah, but sometimes when you have that much money to play for, when you're all tired, it does make sense to make a deal. But a lot of these players, you know, they're very successful in life. They want to go for the win. They want that trophy.
Let's go, Ron. Get that W coming in from the chat. Kiwi Colleen. Dinner is now on. I missed the invite. I'm hungry.
Yeah, bring us some food. Yeah, and I'm with Ron. I prefer to not chop and go for the win. If it's a life-changing amount of money that I'm playing for, I would consider it. But I think it's just so much fun playing shorthanded, and there's a lot of edge to be gained as well. So I prefer playing and getting the experience.
Yeah, and seeing how they've eliminated one player in the last 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
it's interesting that it took them that long to get frustrated and bring it up.
Yep.
You know,
800.
Well, and the blinds are up again, so you know, everybody's a little shorter now, so forcing more and more action.
Heads up.
Flops an open-ender.
Jack 10 has been landing some open-endeds tonight. They say it's supposed to do that.
And so Greg is finally starting to c-bet more, which you love to see. Unfortunately, Jack did connect with some equity here. Let's see if he continues or gives up.
So he did pick up a pair here on the turn that might entice him to reach.
Yeah, I don't think the bottom pair there is going to give him much showdown equity, so I do like continuing with the bluffing. Does have the best hand, but there's no way he can know that. Oof. And Jack gets there on the river, but it does complete the flush draw. And Greg actually has the king of spades, which blocks Jack from having the nuts, but I don't expect Jack to go anywhere off of the stack size, especially for that size bet.
1.4 million.
He will reach for it quite a bit there. 1.4 on the bet.
I think these are very small bluffs, so he's getting way too good of a price to fold. I think you're going to have to go all in if you want your opponent to fold.
Straight.
Good hand.
Yeah, we've seen several players tonight go for that bluff, but they're going for the very small bluff that just can't quite get over the hump to win the pot.
Yeah, the problem with that sizing and that specific board texture, you got to think what kind of hands was Jack calling there on the flop and the turn. And so, you know, at the very least, he could have an ace or both of the draws got there. The straight got there and the flush got there. So I expect him to have a lot of very strong hands. So if you're going to bluff here with the nut blocker like the king of spades, you really need to put the maximum pressure on. And if he is going to bluff, I would have liked to see an all-in sizing. That would get him off of his ace-x holdings and potentially get him to fold some straights as well. But does decide to go for the smaller size, giving Jack a little bit easier of a decision to call.
Ace 5, king, 2 diamonds. Not a whole lot of landing for anyone. Jack will bet and take it down.
Yeah, and Bill with another great point. You know, getting the experience of playing these tournament endgames is very important. In case you ever find yourself in a really big money situation in the future, you'll have some real live experience and have a much better chance of taking it down. You know, all these reps are so valuable that you don't necessarily want to chop when you're playing for, you know, $20,000 to $40,000 difference between first and fourth. First, one day you might be playing for hundreds of thousands of dollars, where you don't even have an option to chop.
Calls 825.
Yeah, Mitchell, I think both combined, the fact that it was the Hollywood and the limp re-raise was a pretty big tell there.
Heads up.
Check.
Check, check. Check, check.
Another very quick round of checking from Jack with the top pair there.
Aces and jacks.
I think you want to start betting a little bit more of your value hands if you want to get paid off on your weaker hands.
I say no to that, Mallory. Mallory asked if we would like it better if the graphics read as big blind units instead of overall amount. I like seeing the overall amounts, but I understand to transfer it into big blind units. It's definitely easier to play thinking of it as big blind units. But not everybody's read that book. You know, granted, you should, but
700.
it's still called what it's called, and we're here to help people think that way, but not everybody does.
Yeah, and so I think both are valid. Mallory, personally, I would prefer both. It'd be nice if you had, like, you know, 3.5 million, and then it said, you know, 10 big blinds in parentheses next to it. But I understand that might not be possible depending on the graphics. You know, personally, as somebody who's studied a lot and played a lot of tournaments, I prefer big blinds, but I also understand RJ's point of view as well. So I think the best compromise would be to do both.
And it gives Danny something to do. We
have to do all this.
Danny do the math.
I have to do all this math
Yeah.
now, and it's getting a little late and tired over here.
Yeah.
Keeping me sharp, keeping me sharp. I like the even numbers for the blind levels, like the 500 to 1,000 level. It's one of the few levels I can easily calculate how many big blinds I have.
I think I can handle that one.
All in. Players all in.
All right, we got an all-in here. Ron raised it up with Queen 10. All-in from Nate, Ace Deuce, and he will take it down.
Yeah, perhaps a little bit of frustration showing from Nate after a couple tough hands there, but does go for the bluff off of around 30 bigs and takes it down.
Good time there for some 3-bet aggression.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like a 3-bet there from the Ace-Deuce suited if you're going to enter the pot. Probably doesn't need to be an all-in sizing, but works just as well. And just like that, gets rewarded with a premium. See what sizing he goes for here if he goes back to his 2x open.
1.2.
1.2.
A little bit larger. Could still work out for him.
Folds.
I like how he took his time with it, though, and considered his options for what he wanted to do.
Ace and a king on the flop. So
Your old nemesis.
I'm happy just to take it down, sir.
Let's play for your watch instead. I like your watch.
Appreciate it.
469 viewers here with 4 players left. That's awesome. Thank you, guys.
I know. Yeah.
Jack is starting to pull away again.
Yeah, really, even Ron has chipped up here a bit, so players really leveling out these chip stacks to see who can battle it out here down the stretch.
Yeah, Greg had that one tough hand where he triple-barreled his king 3 for small sizings, which kind of hurt his chip position, but he still has plenty of chips. Definitely not out of it. Anyone's game still.
Checking.
All right, check.
Check, check.
Come on, bet at that 7.
900.
900 is a bet.
So he'll bet 900 into a pot of about 2.1, so he'll take that down.
Nice to see Ron kind of upping his aggression frequency a little bit, earning some chips. You know, he played very straightforward early on, so the players are going to think that he is a lot stronger than he is, earning himself some free chips. You'd love to see it.
Mr. Bill, I'm sure I've enjoyed my majestic, colorful spinner that I've used a couple of times. I know when I saw you the other day, I said I might not use it very often, but I have actually used it twice. So it's been fun to have.
725 is your bet.
All in again.
Players raising all in.
Yeah, this has been a battle. It's very, very grueling when you're playing 4 or 5 handed for this long with a lot of pressure and prize pool up top. So definitely don't envy these guys, but would love to be in that spot.
So here we go. Nate gets to reap the benefits of being aggressive again there. Finds pocket sixes in the small blind, I believe. Picks it up.
Yeah, and you can see everybody's starting to go for it a little bit. So people are opening it up.
You can't win if you don't play it.
There you go. Can't win if you don't play it.
You early.
Yeah.
Seven.
Yeah, Ron is really opening up his game. I really love to see it. Going to give himself the maximum chance to win.
Let's go with a suited 8-9 on the button. Jack will play, though, suited 5-7 from the big blind.
Check. 500 is that.
Here we go. Ron's picking it up here, and Jack being sticky here. He wants to check raise.
Yeah, and Jack is the chip leader, so he realizes that he can start putting a lot of pressure on these players. I think if you are going to continue, I do like doing it through the raise. Very nice, Jack. I want to see more of this from him as the chip leader. He can really pull away from the field.
Well played by both players there. Ron being aggressive and puts the C-bet in on the flop, but finds resistance. Jack's check raise takes it down.
Yeah, and like you said, I actually really like that from both players. Ron was recognizing that players were a little tight and passive, so he starts C-betting and bluffing more. But at the same token, Jack starts realizing that Ron's been getting after it and starts to fight back with his big stack. So both players are, moving on to that next level of thinking.
750.
Here we could see a battle of the low kicking aces.
Yeah, Danny, I think there might be some construction going on outside. Sorry about that.
You never know what kind of sounds you're going to pick up there at TCH Dallas. Sometimes there's some crazy games going on right there at table 4.
Yeah, that could just be somebody raising.
Yeah.
Wow, tight fold there from King 10. I think Ron was a little taken aback by getting raised there on that last hand.
On its best behavior now. It's funny how you go through that emotion, right? I think Travis experienced some crazy emotions tonight, as every time he got to maybe play after something, it never really went well for him,
Absolutely. Right? I think, Travis has probably had the most difficult final table experience. But, he battled to the end.
And now Ron is experiencing kind of the same experience. He's getting to open it up a little bit, getting some resistance. But
you can't really be folding second pair when you're four-handed to a single bet. So I think I'd like to see him slow down a little bit, regain his composure, always remember to breathe, and think through your possible options.
1 million is that.
Yeah, you still want to stay on your A game and don't feel like it's so hard to be able to continue playing and not feel like you're snake bait, right?
Mm-hmm.
When something bad goes negative, you have to get to where it doesn't affect you that well or that much, and you just keep trucking.
I think it's the hardest part about poker and the most important thing to master in the long run. And I think you'll be a happier person too if you can master your emotions both on and off the felt.
Ten of spades.
Got our first built card of the evening. Johnny went like 47 hours straight without one. So the streak is over, no problem.
Even Johnny gets tired when not being pushed for 4 hours.
Yeah.
750.
750.
I think this is a very good jam spot here for Greg against the small blind open.
All in.
And indeed, he's all in.
All in. Folds.
I always make up something.
Yeah, once again, well played by both players.
Glad he
Nice
flipped
little
that
open
10
from the small blind and 3-bet jam in the big blind.
Yeah, the way he hit that runner straight on me.
No, right there because he flipped my 10 up. And he moved all in.
Oh, you had another 10
I
up
had
on it?
ace 10. We were going to see what was going to happen.
Oh, I got
Yeah, 175, 350.
Wow.
Might probably save me money.
Probably not.
Probably
No,
save me.
you probably been overwhelming chip leader at that point, considering the fact that we were in the blinds and
Yeah.
he said any ace I'm gonna make a move, but I could have been.
So being four-handed now under the gun is also the cutoff. So creates kind of a creative spot here for players to think about when you get to go first, but yet you are in the cutoff. So we'll go to a flop here.
500.
5 nickels.
Nate on the button with Queen Jack. Jack in the big blind with Jack 10. No players land anything. Nate gets to bet and take it down. Taking advantage of his button position, he'll take down a couple of blinds.
Big blind Ronnie, 350 if you
Here's our player chip counts. Greg in the 6th seat now at the bottom, just around 6 million there. Still plenty of chips to play with. And now he picks up aces on the button. That's usually a good spot.
700.
700 is a bet. Calls. Calls.
So the aces of Greg, he raises it up to 700 and he gets 2 callers. 3-3-8 flop.
Check, check.
Those low pairing flops, usually a pretty good spot for aces.
1.1 million is the bet.
1.1 million into 2.4. And that'll take it down.
I think on such a low flop with a paired board like that, that's a good opportunity for a slow play. One of the reasons why we bet on the flop is to protect our equity, but with no flush draws and us being either so far ahead or so far behind from our opponents anyway, that's a good spot to check and let our opponents catch up a little bit because we have really nothing to protect against. They either already have a 3 and they're going to stack us anyway. Otherwise, they're just going to have so much air there that we want to check, maybe let them hit a king or a pair or something like that, or a chance to bluff. So if you are ever going to slow play, that's a good spot to do it in. But also betting is obviously completely reasonable, and he does take it down.
Chad King in the chats. Can the narrators of the event read these? Yes, I am RJ Dupree commentating alongside Danny Marks. We get to enjoy you guys hanging out in the chat, and we can read it and give you a shout out on the air.
I can't really read that well, but other than that, yes.
Yeah, you do the math. I'll try to do the reading.
Yeah, I'll try to calculate how many blinds everybody
There we go.
has while RJ reads the chat. I also got Bluey here to help me. She's a little calculator dog.
Bluey's crushing it.
Yeah, Bluey's doing great. Watching these players play, she's learning quite a bit here. Bluey has 2 final tables in her days as well. One at Choctaw and one here in TCH.
Quite the resume.
Yeah.
Hendon Mob for Bluey.
She's so cute that nobody wants to bluff her. So, for those of you who don't know, Bluey is my French Bulldog puppy that is also here in the booth with us. I'm sure we'll show you her again later.
Logan Winsman in the chat. Dupe. Thank you for the shout out. My name being RJ Dupree. I've always been stuck with the nickname of Dupe, so it's fun to see some folks in there cheering me on as well.
Looks like Trumu is Ron's son. He's hoping to increase his inheritance by having Ron win the tournament.
Yeah,
Totally
Trumu Cards
understandable.
rooting on Ron. Very nice. Let's go, Dad.
That's a walk.
I'm not even gonna look at them.
Jack is really starting to pull away here. I'd like to see him really start to get out of line and push these players around.
That's just like that online stuff where you go.
There we go. We got family members in the chat of various players rooting on their guys, talking a little smack. Let's go.
Love to see it. These days, that's my favorite thing to do at the poker table is, talk smack, but all in good fun. Keep it light.
Yeah, the psychology warfare that goes on Tuesday nights when the big boys come in and play the 25-50 high stakes cash games, or the bigger cash games anyway. It's definitely fun to hear those guys needle each other in the psychological warfare.
That's all I've got these days is the needles. So.
I like the lights, man. That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, those lights are pretty cool on that fancy table. The blue light right there. They try to keep that staying with action, so the blue light usually means action is on you. You can see it kind of flash as it goes around the table.
Yeah, so Jack decides to call here on the button with the threes. Again, I'd really like to see him just raise any hand he decides to play. You don't want to just think about the hand strength, because now he's just not going to have any idea where he's at on the flop, but he's just going to be able to win the pot so much more often if he comes out with aggression.
For some reason, I believe you.
I'm dead serious.
And he's very lucky to actually still have the best hand here with the threes. But he's usually going to lose the pot when he comes in for a limp there.
Power poker.
And with the chip lead, other players are going to have to play very cautiously against you. And so I want to see him start entering every pot that he comes into with the raise.
So yeah, threes hang on there, dodging the 70% equity of your opponents basically at that point. Seeing all the cards.
So needless to say, that was it. That was my experiment.
Still 456 viewers. We might make it to 500 tonight.
I hope so. And remember, while you're visiting us, remember to hit that like button.
We definitely need some
likes.
likes.
Helps out the stream a lot. And again, you can see the power of opening. Ron just takes down a pot pre-flop with 7 high, opening the 7-6 suited on the button.
Yeah, I see quite a few Oklahomies in the chat today. A whole bunch of Texas folks. And New Zealand in the chat as well.
All in.
Nate's going to rip it. He's all in on the button here with his ace. Ace 3. Jack over there in the blinds with ace 5. He's got a little something to think about.
Wow.
The first one was ace, huh?
Yeah.
I figured that. You was like, uh-oh. There might be a call in here.
They can make you a meme out of that. You're like, oh, should I call?
Travis Brassfield now in the chat. Our 5th place finisher, I believe.
Hey, Travis, great job tonight. I know you had a tough go of it, but you had a lot of very difficult decisions, and you stayed tough.
One up at a time, but I didn't know
and hey, great payday. Good job.
Thanks for the call, dudes. Probably see y'all next month. Absolutely, Travis. It was great to see you, and so awesome to watch you make this run today. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you so much for playing, and I hear you're quite the artist, so make sure you give RJ a chance to buy some of your art.
That's
before
right.
You leave.
We're definitely getting some. I'm gonna have a Travis Brassfield piece.
I'm gonna call
before long.
Get to play another pot with my buddy.
My man. Like Denzel said in Training Day.
Lots of
man.
flush.
Heads up. Check. Check.
Pretty good flop for King Jack of clubs.
700.
Montana, Big Sky Country. Also in the chat, joining our friends. Cool to see where all you guys are from. We come from all around the globe in the chat for sure.
To the river.
We'll end up having 3,000 to 5,000 people watch this thing, and they're from all over.
I can't do nothing about it.
1.125. Shows the fire, the full.
So Nate getting to bet his flush again on the river and takes down a nice pot, 4.9 million in that one.
Nate decides to slow play there in position, which is just fine. Gives your opponent more opportunities to bluff, and we always have the opportunity to act last and put in an extra bet.
Especially the dealer.
Just a kind of a bad run out to get Jack to bluff at it. So, but he gave himself the best opportunity to get paid. Where if he just bets the flop, he's probably not earning any more chips.
350 call.
And his wife is like the second best.
Your wife play here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they're talking about our couple that finished 10th and 11th.
You definitely know her, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, the first time I met him, we were at the poker house, and he goes, "That's my wife." I says, "No way." And she goes, "Oh yeah." And she went over and just kissed him. I was like, "I guess she is."
Yeah, Dory and Jim, you know, they've been making a lot of deep runs lately. They've recently retired to focus more on poker, and it's definitely showing in their results.
Check. Check, check.
600.
Take it back.
Jay Stevens from Montana. You guys have any poker out there in Montana?
She's a dealer that comes in and says,
I always wanted to go out there to ski.
And then when we leave, she's like, "Goodbye, everybody."
No, I mean, I know the name. I mean, cause
Yeah,
I
Big
remember the
Sky
name.
Country
I'm
is
like,
big
I know
ski
I know her.
country.
Short little Asian girl.
Yeah, I
Oh,
used to
yeah,
live
I
out
know
in
her.
Colorado myself. We had great poker and great
Yeah, I know
mountains.
her.
So
Yeah, there you go.
I was a big skier in my 20s.
I get to go see my sister every now and then in Anchorage.
Oh,
and,
nice.
So I think next winter I'm going to try a winter trip
Calls 350.
and hopefully hit some slopes before I get too old to enjoy it.
Exactly.
Hey,
Yeah,
feel the same
I
way.
considered
Wow.
going
Oh,
heli
that's so
skiing
lucky.
in Alaska before, but at this
Yeah.
point, I'm also starting to get a little older myself.
King, Queen, Jack, two spades.
Sticking to the poker trips these days.
I know, right? I need good life poker balance in my road trips.
1 million.
Let's see if Greg gets a little creative here with this hand. He does have the 10 of spades, open-ended draw, no showdown value. Is incentivized to start bluffing here.
All in.
There you go.
Cha-ching. All
Very well
in.
played, Greg. Gives himself the best chance to win.
We'll go back and look at that damn hand. Oh, shit. Check rate is strong.
Yeah, that all in is
Check raise any kind of strong with that right there. It's strong. I'm gonna go back and look at that hand. I promise you.
So Ron, Nate, Greg, and Jack still battling it out.
Yeah, these players have been battling 4 and 5-handed for hours at this point. You can definitely tell the fatigue going on. Very quick decisions being made. A lot of straightforward poker. Very understandable with a lot of money up top.
That's what happens.
See if anyone can break away from the pack.
Feels like you can fold jacks easily because you're going to.
So yeah, Jay Stevens up there in Montana. He gets to play some 2-6 limit games, single $5 big blind, max pot limit of 800. It sounds like up there. So yeah, games Games are
Yeah, he's horrible.
kind of weird and a little
Nah,
bit
he is.
different.
I mean,
Colorado used to have a similar law. They
Yeah.
had first it was $5 spread limit, so the biggest bet you could make was $5 when I first went to college out there, and then they upped it to 100, and then recently they've lifted it completely, so now you can play true no limit. But the games were still really good when it was 2 to 100 spread limit.
Here we go.
All in from Ron
Oh,
here.
here we go.
He's in the big blind with Ace King.
And Ron is now at risk here with Ace King.
Greg will have him covered by just a bit here. So
one time.
Yep.
You already used that one.
What time?
That ain't it.
Jack 7, 8, only one spade.
Some chop outs now with a 10.
Yeah.
That would really hurt. Oh,
Oh, the 3
Wow.
of clubs.
very unlucky there for Ron. Greg hits the 3 on the river to knock Ron out in fourth place.
The naughty 3 outer right there on the river.
Yeah, we're both on the river.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
And Ron was also the chop blocker, so
No, he
I'm curious to
flopped the deuce.
see
He
if
flopped the
the
deuce,
players
and we
decide
turned
to
ace.
renegotiate a deal here now that they're down to
Wow.
three-handed.
Wow.
But really well played, Ron. Unlucky way to go out, but still gets to take home $19,000 for his troubles. Thanks for playing. We'll see you again next month, I'm sure.
Fantastic run for Ron. I got to deal to him the other day in his first flight. So
Okay, so you're the reason he's here.
yeah, so I got to see him start it, got to see him finish it. An awesome run. He will finish fourth place, 19,200. That is a quality prize
I mean, I want to look at an ICM or something.
for a $300 event.
I don't even know.
Yeah, and all players are guaranteed almost 28K at this point, so no one's going to be unhappy with that huge payday. You can hear them talking about ICM chops as well, so maybe they will discuss a deal. Let's see what they decide to
So
do.
they are starting to whisper about it, but they won't talk about it while they have cards.
750.
Little trick out there, if people are starting to talk ICM, start getting really aggressive so you can up your stack and get yourself a little bit more of a good deal.
I mean, if he'll look at it without talking too much
Can you
ball.
count down? I mean, you just keep going, but you count down.
Fun's correct. Fun's on 4. He's probably helping out him right now.
A big 3 on the river there for Greg.
I can get him over.
But he said we talking doing that. He paused the clock. And
Yeah.
I think Nate's trying to see if they will pause the clock
Donovan?
for a chop discussion. I think it depends on the location. I think here they will accommodate you for chops. At the locations like the WSOP, they do not accommodate chops, so you have to do that while the clock is running and on your own time.
43 in play, so.
maybe I see him.
While he's getting Ron paid out, if you want to double check if he's going to do an ICM.
Yeah.
Just count your chip stacks right now.
Counting the chip stack will help.
I don't know the
Yeah,
rules
yeah.
at this place this deep. I want to ask a question. Is there a deal where we take a certain amount and play for the rest? Or
Yeah,
they
you
allow
can do that. Whatever we decide.
They usually won't let you some places.
No, we can do that.
Yeah, we have seen deals where they've done that before.
Okay.
If it's dropped, the tournament's over as far as I've.
Right, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
so for those of you in the chat unfamiliar, they're talking about an ICM chop. ICM stands for the independent chip model, and it just shows that the value of your chip stack is not linear. Your last chip is worth a lot more than your second to last chip, and so on. And so you basically calculate the expected value of your stack if you were to play the tournament infinite times based on your average finish. And so it allows everybody to get a more even payout and not have to gamble for such a big difference between first and third. So it is very common in a lot of these big buy-in tournaments for players at the end to do an ICM chop at the end. And let's see what kind of deal they come up with and if they decide to play for anything on top of it.
So here's what they're looking at. The top 3 positions there, still 100. What is that? 123,000 in the prize pool remaining for these 3 players. So still plenty of options here as they try to discuss what exactly they want to do.
And that just goes to show you why they chop. I mean, these players are tired at this point. They've been grinding, battling hard, and there's just so much money to play for that it just makes sense for a lot of people to make the deal and all guarantee a very nice payday.
Yeah, you're looking at 41.
No matter any way you look at it, though, all three of these players are winners at this point, and really amazing job to get through 1,400 players.
We can tip him after we get paid.
So yeah, a lot of times these $300 events, the payouts get so awesome that it's easy to talk about a chop, right? Because you just turn, say these three players chop this evenly, you just turn $300 into $40,000. So,
Absolutely insane. Yeah. I mean, that's,
so you're kind of crazy if you say no to that, right?
Well, I mean, everybody has a different situation, but for the most part, it's going to be a good deal for everybody for sure.
About 1, 3, maybe 5%. But if
Real quick, don't forget Poker Atlas Tour coming to Texas Card House, Houston. That's the Westheimer location there in Houston, April 10th through the 22nd. 16 events, over 1 million in guarantees. They will have, they will crush those guarantees. It'll be some awesome prize pools similar to the one we have today, plus a bigger one there in the main, I'm sure.
We just want to play one hand?
Yeah.
Just a flip.
Cut the deck?
No, good. We'll just pay one Omaha hand.
Donovan, we need you.
You want to do Omaha?
Yeah, just do an Omaha hand.
I love it. It sounds like they're going to do an even chop and then flip for the trophy. You know, Jack is the chip leader, so he's definitely given up a lot by doing that. But definitely a fun way to end it.
We're already. We want
It's not as serious to me about it.
Donovan.
The question is, does one of us have to claim first place money for tax?
That's the next question.
No.
They'll just pay you check.
Another great question here from Greg, asking about taxes.
Exactly. Now, the only thing that I have any implications on would be in the as far as the points, as far as if you're on whatever player of your
No, and to answer both of those questions, the tournament site can accommodate the change in payouts for tax reasons, for Hendon mob reasons, so you don't have to worry about that. You will get a W-2 for the size of your cash out that they pay you.
Yeah, whatever they pay you is what their sheet is going to say.
Good job. Yeah. Can we do one hand for the...
There we go. Fist bumps all around.
I
It
think,
looks like
I'm still happy.
the fist bump is the official deal.
Yeah,
and so it does seem like they agreed to a chop.
I mean, if I wasn't in the big line, then I would have been the chip leader. So
yeah, the next hand you're gonna. He's not gonna be the chip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Next hand he's not gonna be.
See, that's relative. That's my point. So we're all so even. I mean, literally one hand. And being that the blinds are so freaking high.
Yeah. I mean, you're giving up. If you win, you're giving up 16, but you also giving up the other stuff.
Yeah, you can hear Nate.
If you don't.
So you know.
Everybody's very close. They're just going to do an even chop. We'll let you know when we have the numbers.
I wouldn't have done a four-way, especially with him.
And don't forget, tomorrow night, TCH Live coming to you from this location, Texas Card House, Dallas. On that table right there, we'll have, what are they going to play tomorrow? Some sort of 1-3-5. I think it's 1-3 round of each with crazy.
It's going to be 1-2-5 round of each, so that's going to be Omaha, High Limit Omaha, and No Limit Hold'em. But knowing the players involved and knowing how Tuesday devolves into a craziness, I do expect a lot of straddles to be put on.
It will be an industry game. Crazy poker dealers.
It's going to be 1,
play.
2, 5, 10, 25, 50. You know, it can get pretty wild.
Those have definitely caught some momentum as of late. They turn out very entertaining usually.
So make sure you all join us again here tomorrow if you enjoy cash games, if you like some wild play. We'll have Johnny, who is in the box right now, playing.
And there's our tournament director, Mr. Donovan, the rock star tournament director here at the Texas Card House, Dallas.
We're going to do an Omaha hand. Omaha hand. All right, so
$500.
So there it is. We have the fist bumps have been officially officialized, and they have chopped for an amount of $41,465. So that'll be their prize payout.
That is not a bad day's of work. That is over 135 buy-ins of a payout, which is not
$300 buy-in. They are chopping it up. $41,465 for each of them. That is a pretty juicy run for these guys. And they're going to do an Omaha flop.
Right now, are we good to go?
No, John is letting
Omaha flop here for the trophy, it looks like. Let me see.
Yes, it's a PLO flip. Yes, sir. One board.
How do you play PLO?
All right, here we go, guys.
No,
All right, let's see who wins this tournament with the PLO flip here.
Hold them with, but you gotta
Since
use
the
two
button was
cards.
right there originally, I'm just gonna deal accordingly, okay?
All right, this is it. This is for the tournament right here.
For the tournament, who's going to get the win?
Do we want to turn one card over at a time?
Yeah, I like to flip over one card and kind of sweat it that way.
I mean, there's no betting, so
All right, guys, you guys can show if you like.
just do a Mexican sweat.
Let's see.
They already looked at their hands, so.
There you can see Bluey. Bluey is
right.
now famous again.
Yeah, she is sweating the flip just like the rest of y'all.
Queen 10, deuce 4, queen 10, jack. Surely somebody's going to make a straight out of there. 8, 9, I see. Jack 7, I see.
Who's our winner?
8, 9 going to hold it. Greg has a straight to the queen.
That's it. Greg is our winner.
All right, guys, it's been a pleasure.
But honestly, all three of these guys are winners, taking home over $41,000 each. Thank you so much for joining us. Bluey had a great time. I had a great time. Thanks for having us, RJ.
Yes, I had a great time. Thank you guys for being here. And join us again tomorrow night for cash game action. And that will complete our tournament tonight. The even bigger one. Come and join us next month for that. And we'll catch you next time. TCH Live. Good night.
Bye, guys.
I just never overcame the barriers of beating him.